Chapter 1058. Ancient Country. Ancient Country again. Ancient Country God Exterminating Shield was the first time Ning Fan heard of this prefix. The well-controlling diagram of 9 Nether Ancient Country was the second time, and this was the third time. The two words Ancient Country might really have some real meaning and not just a general term. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with indescribable emotion as he looked at the mountain of gold and silver in his storage pouch. His previous speculation seemed to be correct. Sure enough, there was a reason why Old Wu was so passionate about the gold and silver of the Great Humble Clan. Originally, he wanted to find a time to interrogate Old Wu to find out the secret behind these gold and silver. Unexpectedly, Old Wu took the initiative to tell him everything. Tell me in detail what the Ancient Country trading formation is all about. Master, don't be anxious. Listen to Little 8 slowly. Old Wu sorted out his thoughts and continued. My master, old ancestor He Yun, loves to collect treasures in the world. He is very familiar with ancient and modern treasures, and has done a lot of research on ancient and modern history. When he was still alive, he once told me this. The world is an egg. When the egg is broken into 3 pieces, 3 great true worlds are created. The primordial emptiness outside the eggshell is the place where countless illusory worlds are located. However, before the birth of the egg of the 3 great true worlds, there was no distinction between the real and the illusory worlds. The heaven and earth were not as separated as they are now. If the current cultivation era is called the era of the 3 realms, then there was an era before the era of the 3 realms. It belonged to the ancient countries and the ancient gods. Master only told me this. He wasn't willing to tell me more about the other great secrets of heaven and earth. He even said that knowing more might not be a good thing. When I asked him about the ancient countries and the ancient gods, he suddenly became angry and severely punished me. He ordered me not to explore those great secrets of heaven and earth. Ning Fan's eyes flickered. The world is an egg. There was another era before the era of the 3 realms. Ning Fan originally wanted to ask more, but after some thought, Old Wu's master didn't tell him too much. Old Wu probably didn't know the specifics, so he gave up. Later on, Master obtained some strange gold and silver by chance. In his joy, he laid down a strange formation in front of me, and made an unbelievable trade with the formation. He used 3 taels of heavenly Dao gold to buy a pre-celestial low-grade magic treasure from that formation. After the transaction was completed, Master gave me a jade slip. The jade slip recorded the method of setting up the ancient country's trading formation, and asked me to memorize it. I've looked at the jade slip. Not only does the jade slip contain a detailed diagram of the ancient nation trading formation, but it also contains a brief introduction of the ancient nation trading formation. It was said that there was an ancient sacred sect in the current true world, and its name was Heaven Piercing Sect. This cult was different from the other sects and clans. They usually stayed hidden from the world, and there were only a handful of people in the 3 great true worlds who knew where Heaven Piercing cult was located. The Transcending Heaven sect didn't care about the secular affairs. Occasionally, its disciples would travel the world, but they often considered themselves as the descendants of an ancient country. This sect lived up to its name, possessing the ability to penetrate the heavens and penetrate the earth. It could rely on a single formation to make transactions with the heavens. Be it the cultivators from the 3 great true worlds or the illusory dream world. As long as they possess the heavenly Dao gold and silver, and set up the ancient nation trading formation, they can cross worlds and trade with the Heaven Piercing sect. Of course, cultivators from different worlds can also use this formation to trade with each other. However, if they don't trade with the Heaven Piercing sect directly, they will need to pay an additional cost. Moreover, there is a high chance that the transaction will fail. As he said that, Old Wu turned his hand and took out a jade slip, passing it to Ning Fan. Ning Fan used his spirit sense to break the seal on the jade slip and read its contents. Just like that, he read it for 1 hour. Only then did he withdraw his spirit sense. His eyes were filled with astonishment. Ancient nation trading formation. There was actually such a strange formation in the world that could allow one to cross worlds and trade with others. Old Wu's master had even used 3 taels of gold to buy a pre-celestial low-grade magic treasure. The amount of gold in your storage pouch shouldn't be less than 100,000 taels, and the amount of silver in it shouldn't be less than 1,000,000 taels. I don't think all of these are the heavenly Tao gold and heavenly Tao silver that you mentioned, right? I don't know about the exchange rate of gold and silver in the ancient nation. Instead of looking at the silver, I only look at the gold. If all of these 100,000 taels of gold are heavenly Tao gold, then according to the exchange rate of 3 taels of gold for a pre-celestial magic treasure, wouldn't I be able to buy more than 10,000 pre-celestial magic treasures from the myriad worlds? More than 10,000 pre-celestial magic treasures. The restriction of the Xing ring was already gone. With Ningfan's strength that was comparable to the second tribulation of eternal times, if he had 10,000 pre-celestial magic treasures with him, he wouldn't even need to use any of his abilities. He could just detonate 10 to 20 pre-celestial magic treasures, and he would probably be heavily injured if he didn't die. Master, you must be joking. Of course, these gold and silver are not the real heavenly Tao gold and silver. They just contain a tiny amount of the heavenly Tao gold and silver. If they are refined properly, I can probably only extract 1 to 2 taels of heavenly Tao gold from 100,000 taels of gold. As for heavenly Tao silver, it's about the same ratio. In other words, I can only extract 1 to 2 taels of heavenly Tao gold and 10 to 20 taels of heavenly Tao silver. Moreover, Old Wu also mentioned the word, refining properly. In other words, if the refining method isn't perfect, there will be some losses. The amount of heavenly Tao gold and silver that I can obtain might not be as much as I expected, however. I have 3 questions. Please ask, Master. It's Little 8's greatest honor to be able to answer your doubts. The first question. Do all the gold and silver of Great Bay contain the heavenly Tao gold and silver? According to Little 8's investigation, all the gold and silver of Great Bay contain the heavenly Tao gold and silver. The second question. Do you think the experts of Great Bay know that the currency circulating in their clan contains the heavenly Tao gold and silver? Ordinary people definitely don't know about it. However, it might not be the case for the experts who have lived through the ancient times. After all, the people of Great Bay are the descendants of the saints of the true world. It's only natural that someone in their clan knows about the existence of the heavenly Tao gold and silver. However, since those people allow the currency that contains the heavenly Tao gold and silver to circulate freely, there's only one possibility. Either they don't know the refining method of the heavenly Tao gold and silver, or they don't know the method of setting up the ancient country trading formation. My master once said that the refining method of the heavenly Tao gold and silver needs to be set up in the ancient country refining formation. Be it the refining formation or the trading formation, they're all top secrets between heaven and earth. Since the cultivators of this clan allow the heavenly Tao gold and silver to circulate freely in the hands of ordinary people, they must be lacking either the refining formation or the trading formation. Maybe they're lacking both. Old Wu's analysis was quite consistent with Ningfan's speculation. After a moment of silence, he asked again. The third question. Do you have the formation map of the ancient country refining formation? I do have the formation map. However, with Little 8's current strength, it's a little difficult for me to set up this formation. It'll be even more difficult to control it. If Master wants to refine the gold and silver, it's better for you to do it yourself. If you let Little 8 do it, you might lose a lot of the heavenly Tao gold and silver due to improper methods. Old Wu took out a jade slip and passed it to Ningfan. This jade slip recorded the ancient country refining formation. Now that both the refining formation and the trading formation were in his hands, Ningfan could use his own strength to refine the heavenly Tao gold and silver from the Great Bay. You've given me 2 formation maps and a large amount of Great Bay's gold and silver. They might be of great use to me. I appreciate your kindness. We might have had some conflicts in the past, but from today onwards, we'll write them off. In return, I can promise you a condition as a reward. As long as it doesn't exceed my bottom line, any reward is fine. Even removing the restriction on your body and returning your freedom is also fine. I have to leave the valley for a few days because I have some matters to attend to. All of you stay here and don't leave this valley unless there's something important. As for the reward, you can take your time to think about it. Ningfan kept the storage pouch that was filled with gold and silver, and flew out of the valley in a flash. After he left, The devil beasts that he had planted the illusion technique on forcefully broke free from the illusion in his sea of consciousness. Unfortunately, the illusion technique was too powerful. Even the 4 immortal venerate devil beasts could not break free from the restraint of the illusion technique. They still had to obey Ningfan's commands. Old Wu was so surprised that he could not close his mouth. He had never expected that the evil star would actually be generous enough to give him a reward, just because he was soft-hearted and gave him some treasures. It was fine even if he could remove the restriction on him and regain his freedom. Freedom. What a nostalgic thing. Wasn't it what he had always wanted to get back? What an unexpected gain. However, once he regains his freedom, he would no longer be Ningfan's servant. He would no longer be able to stay by Ningfan's side. Ningfan was the lucky star in his life. He was the turning point of his bad luck. If he leaves Ningfan, his bad luck will definitely come again. His path of cultivation will certainly be difficult and bumpy again. Breaking through the second eternal tribulation is still a long way off. Old Wu laughed strangely. He was unwilling to admit it, but he had to admit that he seemed to be a little despicable. He actually wanted to be Ningfan's servant. All for the benefits of following Ningfan. He was reluctant to let go of Ningfan, who had such a thick thigh. If he hugs Ningfan's thigh tightly, he would have a chance to cultivate all the way to the immortal emperor realm and become the dark luck great emperor of this generation. In that case, he would not be foolish enough to ask for his freedom as a reward. I better think about it carefully and ask for some other rewards from the evil star. Oh right. Why don't I ask the evil star to help me collect the other parts of the Emperor Jade Fate set? Old Wu secretly calculated. In the depths of his heart, he was even more certain that being loyal to Ningfan was definitely the right choice. Wasn't it rare for him to be loyal to Ningfan for once? Now he would be rewarded, wouldn't he? Ningfan flew all the way out of the valley. His spirit sense turned into a drizzle and scattered towards the continents of the ominous domains. Finally, he chose the most desolate continent and flew towards it. Zhang Yu and the others had their revenge, but Ningfan had his own plans. He left Zhang Yu and the others in the valley where the devil beast's lair was located. He even set up a formation around the valley to isolate the karmic detection. It would be very safe to leave them there. As for him, he would have to risk his life in this extreme pill-sacred region alone. During this period of time, he might have to fight with immortal Emperor realm experts. In such a dangerous situation, it was naturally impossible for him to bring them along. He was plotted against and the punishment ring was destroyed. In that case, Ningfan could not show his face in public in the Great Humble Tribe. Otherwise, he might attract a large-scale pursuit again. When the immortal Emperor of Great Humble Tribe sensed that the karmic connection was severed, he probably thought that I have already left the extreme pill-sacred region. Unfortunately, I didn't leave. I want to find the sacrificial tool of Jiuqiu. I want to find the innate soul-nourishing spiritual medicine that I lack. I want to find the physical body that Zhang Yu needs. I will certainly go to the execution of the sovereign butcher ceremony, half a year later. The world plane of this place greatly restricts me. However, it's not really impossible to forcefully open the profound Yin world. The things that Old Wu offered me are very useful. With the help of the trading formation of the ancient country, my previous plan will no doubt be much easier. I can easily obtain a lot of materials. Ningfan landed on a desolate continent. As soon as he landed, a few devil beasts that were hibernating in this place attacked him. Unfortunately, these beasts were too weak. They only had the cultivation base of Shikong. As a demonic light flashed in Ningfan's left eye, the few devil beasts lost their vision and became absent-minded. Then they were invaded by his illusory technique and consciously retreated a few li away. Their attitudes were extremely respectful, and they even took the initiative to patrol and protect Ningfan in the surrounding areas. Ningfan landed on a bald mountain. He raised his head and looked at the sky of the Great Humble Tribe with a solemn expression. Next, he was going to do something crazy. He was going to defy the power of the world plane of this world and forcefully open the profound Yin world. That was why he chose to do it in this place. He did not know if he could succeed or not. However, half a year was really not enough. In order to save the sovereign butcher, No matter what kind of plan he had, he would need more time to prepare. The profound Een world must be opened. He must enter the profound Een world and use the Tower of Time within it. If the power of the world plane of this world stops him from doing what he wants, why would he hesitate to become the enemy of the entire world? Ning Fan opened his mouth and spat out a ray of light. It slowly appeared in front of his chest and turned into a magic treasure that looked like a jade locket. It was the Yin Yang locket. His black hair fluttered without any wind. He raised his hand and pressed the jade locket in front of him. Profound Een world open. As soon as he shouted, his body began to turn incorporeal. He began to be sucked into the profound Een world of the Yin Yang locket bit by bit. Unfortunately, just as he was about to enter the profound Een world by force, hundreds of millions of great Tao ripples suddenly appeared in the sky. There was also a restraining force that carried a vast heavenly might that descended from the sky, forcefully closing the half-open profound Een world. The opening failed. Since the great Tao of this world is trying to stop me, don't blame me for killing the heavenly Tao soul of this world. With a wave of his hand, the ocean-defying sword appeared in his hand. With the weight of the 7 stars, he gathered the sword light of the 5 Yin Yang swords, and the Taoist slaying sword and slashed at the countless ripples of the great Tao in the sky. Countless ripples of the great Tao were shattered. However, at the next moment, the ripples returned to normal. Then, countless lightning rays gathered to form an ancient and gigantic beast eye. It slowly opened at the top of the sky and stared at Ning Fan coldly. It was the gaze of the heavenly Tao soul of this world. The heavenly Tao had a soul. Therefore, after cultivators cultivate the ability to extract the soul of the heavenly Tao, they would be able to borrow power from the heavenly Tao. Because of the soul, the great Tao of a world could operate normally. At this moment, the heavenly Tao soul that controlled the supreme Pil Saint regions, heavenly Tao opened its ancient eyes due to Ning Fan's resistance. It stared at the tiny and lowly human figure below. External cultivator. The ancient voice of the great Tao reverberated in the sky. If that's the case, the crime of defying the heavenly will is established. Kill. An ancient killing intent descended from the sky. Then tens of thousands of lightning bolts fell from the sky, intending to blast Ning Fan into pieces. The power that the heavenly Tao soul of this world uses is indeed lightning. Ning Fan seemed to have confirmed a certain speculation in his heart. He became more confident in resisting the heavenly Tao soul. He raised his finger and pointed at the sky. Immediately, a gigantic blood-red lightning diagram appeared in midair. There were many cracks and cracks on the lightning diagram, causing it to be unable to unleash its full power. However, as Ning Fan willed it, it slowly expanded. Tens of thousands of heavenly lightning bolts fell from the sky with a destructive force that was enough to kill ordinary First Tribulation immortal venerables. However, the lightning diagram absorbed the lightning bolts with just a suction force, causing the heavenly Tao's attack to fail. The lightning power in the surrounding area isn't enough to kill you? If that's the case, 2 continents lightning fall. As the ancient voice gave an order, the number of lightning bolts that fell from the sky increased by 1-fold, greatly increasing their destructive force. Originally, the lightning power of the ominous domain continent that Ning Fan was currently on was gathering. However, at this moment, the lightning power of the other continents in the surroundings was also gathering towards him. The lightning power of the 2 continents was still not enough to kill Ning Fan. Whenever the lightning bolts fell, they were forcefully absorbed by the Taisu lightning diagram and turned into his own. 3 continents lightning fall. The lightning power of the 3rd ominous domain continent was also summoned. However, it was useless. 4 continents lightning fall. It was still useless. 9 continents lightning kill. The lightning tribulation that was powerful enough to kill a 2nd tribulation immortal venerate still could not break the lightning diagram's defense. 15 continents lightning kill. 22 continents lightning kill. 33 continents lightning cloud town. When the lightning power that was attacking Ning Fan increased to the total lightning power of the 33 ominous domain continents, Ning Fan finally felt a little strained. At this moment, even a 3rd tribulation immortal king would be severely injured if he or she gets caught in the lightning tribulation. With the Taisu lightning diagram's power, he could no longer control the situation. As expected, I still have to use the God exterminating shield to defend myself. Just as this thought emerged in his mind, it was immediately extinguished by Ning Fan. There were two reasons for this. Firstly, Ning Fan discovered that in the process of continuously devouring the lightning tribulation, some of the cracks on his Taisu lightning diagram in the past were actually recovering on their own under the nourishment of the lightning power that he devoured. Most of those cracks were caused by the lightning storm when he was protecting the immortal Loli in the past. Now they were recovering by devouring the lightning power of this world. It was an unexpected gain. Ning Fan did not plan to stop the restoration of the lightning diagram so soon. Secondly, Ning Fan discovered that every time the Taisu lightning diagram devoured some lightning tribulation, it would cause the lightning primordial energy of the entire world plane of the Supreme Pill Sacred region to decrease. The decrease was extremely small. Even ordinary immortal emperors would have a hard time noticing it. However, with Ning Fan's senses, he naturally noticed the decrease in the lightning primordial energy of heaven and earth. It seemed like it was also an unexpected gain. According to the information he obtained, the Radiant Buddha had ordered more than 3,000 tribes of the Great Humble Race to offer lightning as a sacrifice. Almost all the lightning they had stored in the past had been offered to the Radiant Buddha. However, it was still not enough for the Radiant Buddha. Hence, each tribe could only send the lightning cultivators of their headquarters to gather the lightning power of heaven and earth artificially to create lightning. If the lightning primordial energy of heaven and earth decreases, because of Ning Fan's action of devouring lightning, it would probably affect the lightning cultivators who create lightning. Their speed of creating lightning would certainly slow down. The reason I'm fighting against the heavenly way is to forcefully open the profound Yin world. But if I can swallow some of the heavenly way's tribulation lightning along the way, and reduce the density of the lightning elemental energy in the entire Supreme Dansate region, that's not a bad idea. Since that's the case, there's no need to rush to use the God exterminating shield. I'll first use the thunder diagram to devour the thunder power of the Supreme Dansate region. Ning Fan was well aware that it would be a little difficult for him to resist the lightning power of the 33 continents with his current cultivation base. However, if he uses Juli's power, Black Demon, fuse with me. Black Demon dares not disobey Master's orders. With a command, he finally used the 9 Fox, which he had not used for a long time. Originally, due to the great increase in his ancient devil cultivation base, his overall cultivation base was already comparable to the second tribulation immortal venerated statue of the eternal era. At this moment, it had merged with the power of Juli's Tao soul. All of a sudden, Ning Fan's aura rose steadily all the way until it reached the level of an eternal 3 tribulation immortal king. Was this the power of an immortal king? Ning Fan's original cultivation base had yet to reach the level of an immortal king. However, at this moment, he forcefully reached this level with the help of Black Demon. As soon as the aura on his body grew stronger, the power of the lightning diagram also skyrocketed. After Ning Fan borrowed Black Demon's power, the originally emotionless eyes of the gigantic beast on the dome suddenly showed fear. After that fear, a trace of hatred could be seen. The soul of the heavenly Tao of this world recognized the 9 foxes' chi on Black Demon's body. It was as if there was a great hatred between it and the 9 Fox clan. Now that it suddenly saw a 9 Fox, its killing intent immediately skyrocketed to an unprecedented level. 100 continents lightning bombardment. All of a sudden, the lightning power of the 100 continents of the ominous domain was gathered in one spot. The power of the lightning tribulation instantly increased to a level that was enough to kill a 5 tribulation immortal king. The lightning power that was gathered at such a level was too great. Above the dome, a lightning bird with an ancient chi was condensed. At the next moment, the lightning bird carried the combined lightning power of the 100 continents of the ominous domain, and crashed towards the Taisu lightning diagram. The surging lightning power instantly exceeded the limit that the Taisu lightning diagram could withstand, causing cracks to appear on the Taisu lightning diagram. Is this the power of the heavenly Tao soul of this world? It really isn't something that the rain world and the desolate world can compare with. The heavenly Dao soul of the rain world was Li Xiaoxiao, who was once bullied by Ning Fan. The heavenly Dao soul of the desolate world was the black cat Nine Fox. Under Ning Fan's identity as the 10th barbarian god, it directly submitted to him. The process was extremely easy. All kinds of experiences made Ning Fan slightly underestimate the heavenly Dao soul. However, after witnessing the power of the heavenly Dao soul of the Supreme Pill Saint region, he could not help but admit that his action of going against the heavenly Dao of this world and forcefully opening the profound Yin world was a little too arrogant. However, no matter how arrogant it was, he must open the profound Yin world. If the Taisu lightning diagram could not deal with the heavenly Dao soul of this world, he did not mind using the God exterminating shield to fight against this vast heavenly Dao. Come back. Just as Ning Fan was about to keep the lightning diagram, Black Demon's voice suddenly rang in his mind. Master, don't keep this lightning diagram. Black Demon won't be wrong. This lightning bird has the chi of the ancestral lightning sparrow. The ancestral lightning sparrow is as delicious as the Dao carp. You're just an ant. Master, please use the lightning diagram to restrain the lightning incarnation of the ancestral lightning sparrow, and let Black Demon attack it. Catch it and bring it back to be the totem spirit of Master's Lei 2. Chapter 1059. Ancestral Lightning Sparrow. It was Ning Fan's first time hearing this name. His original plan to activate the God exterminating shield immediately changed because of Black Demon's words. The Heaven Dao Hun of this world was not a demon-type heaven controller, but an existence of the Dao Hun clan. The demon race and the Dao soul race were yin and yang. Their auras were similar but different. Ordinary people would not be able to tell the difference between them. However, because Ning Fan had experienced the chi of Dao soul living beings like the Dao carp and Jiu Li, he was able to tell the difference. Their enemy was the ancestral lightning sparrow, Dao Hun, while the Black Demon was the 4th-ranked Jiu Li. If Ning Fan was facing the vast heavenly Dao of the Supreme Pill Sacred region by himself, he certainly would not be so arrogant as to say that he would capture the soul of the heavenly Dao and use it as the spirit of the lightning diagram. But now, Black Devil had said such words with indescribable confidence. Interesting. Should I try to capture the heavenly Dao soul of this world? The corners of Ning Fan's mouth curled into a cold smile. His eyes were filled with monstrous devil intent. The soul of the Dao of Heaven was the messenger, who controlled the Dao of Heaven in an expanse cosmos. The stronger the power of world planes in the expanse cosmos, the stronger the power of the world that the soul of the Dao of Heaven could mobilize. Becoming enemies with the soul of the heavenly Dao meant becoming enemies with the entire plane. Those who disobeyed the heavenly Dao would face the power of the heavenly tribulations of this plane in the future. And there was even a chance that they would be killed by the heavenly will. If he wanted to capture the Dao of Heaven's soul from a medium-sized world, he would also need to fight against the power of world planes from the entire medium-sized world. To a cultivator in the second step, this was something that was absolutely impossible. When he was running amok in the rain world, there was a period of time where he became enemies with the heavenly Dao of the rain world. The reason why he was not killed by the heavenly Dao of the rain world was partly because he had an endless number of trump cards. On the other hand, it was also because the rain world was just a small kiliocosm. The power of the world plane was extremely weak, which gave Ning Fan the possibility to go against the heavenly Dao. However, it was just disobedience. Naturally, it was impossible for him to use the power of rain world planes to capture Li Xiaoxiao in the past. The power of world planes in the sacred region of the Supreme Core Realm was also one of the best in the medium-sized worlds. Even the quasi-saints at the level of the 5 great paragons of Great Infernal Realm could at most cast the divine ability to extract the soul of the Dao of Heaven and borrow the power of the world. It was impossible for them to use the power of the entire world to capture the soul of the Dao of Heaven. It was common knowledge that humans could not defeat the world at the same level. However, if Jiu Li were to make a move, what would be the result? The scene of Black Demon killing the quasi-sage Dao carp was still vivid in his mind. He had a considerable degree of confidence in his kitten. If the enemy is the same species as Dao Hun, then my little cat will be very powerful. Even if he was arrogant enough to capture the heavenly axiom of this world, there was still a sliver of a chance. Since you have such a plan, I will cooperate with you. I will restrain the heavenly axiom of this realm from the front, and you will launch a sneak attack. Ning Fan did not keep the lightning diagram. Instead, he released the fusion between him and Black Devil. All of a sudden, a black light flashed on his shoulder, and a lazy and arrogant little black cat appeared. After another flash, the little black cat disappeared without a trace. After removing the fusion of his Dao souls, Ning Fan's chi naturally fell all the way until it returned to his original strength. Following that, the power of the Tai Su lightning diagram was also greatly reduced due to the decline of Ning Fan's chi. It was already riddled with holes after being attacked by the lightning birds in the first place. Now that its power had been reduced, it was even more unable to withstand the lightning attacks of the lightning birds. In an instant, it showed signs of collapsing. A large amount of lightning power leaked out from the damaged parts of the lightning diagram. Sizzling sounds could be heard as the lightning birds devoured all of the lightning power that leaked out greedily. The lightning power of the heavenly tribulation that was devoured by Ning Fan's lightning diagram was also being taken back by the lightning birds bit by bit. When the lightning power in the lightning diagram was forcefully devoured, Ning Fan's mind was affected. He felt a sweetness in his throat, and a trace of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. However, his eyes did not show the slightest hint of panic. Instead, they were filled with the light of calculation. As he performed a hand seal, some of the lightning power that was devoured by the lightning birds suddenly turned into thousands of lightning lines that were as tough as steel wires. They pierced out from the body of the lightning birds, and tied up its body tightly like a dumpling. Under the pain, the lightning birds let out a furious roar. When it saw the lightning lines that were binding its body, its eyes were filled with disdain. These lightning lines that were as tough as steel wires were actually condensed from the Tao law of lightning. Besides, they also contained a trace of lightning power of the Palm Immortal Realm, which allowed them to pierce through its lightning body with ease. Unfortunately, it was just a trace of lightning power of the Palm Immortal Realm after all. This young man was not a true Palm Immortal Realm lightning cultivator. It was just wishful thinking for him to suppress its lightning with just this bit of Palm Immortal Realm lightning power. Are you trying to bind the heavenly Tao with lightning lines of this level? Humph. You're overestimating yourself. Countless lightning arcs burst out from the lightning bird's body. The lightning lines that were binding its body were easily broken, allowing its lightning body to regain its freedom. The fine and dense wounds on its body that were pierced by the lightning lines also healed under the healing of the Tao law of lightning. Then he chanted some kind of incantation. The body of the lightning bird grew larger and larger. With a hint of impatience in its beak, it directly swallowed the entire Tai Su lightning diagram into its stomach. After letting out a satisfied burp, it flapped its wings all of a sudden. Lightning power gushed out endlessly from its body. The range of the lightning power was so large that it directly caused the entire ominous continent where Ning Fan was standing to be engulfed in a world-destroying lightning storm. Boom, boom, boom. The countless mountains, plains, and living beings on the continent were all turned to dust by the thunderstorm. Ning Fan, who was at the center of the lightning storm, let out a blood-curdling shriek, and was directly turned into ashes. After the entire ominous continent collapsed, a mushroom cloud of lightning storm the size of the entire continent was formed in the sky. After a long time, the mushroom cloud finally dispersed. However, the lightning primordial energy in the surroundings was still as violent as before. The spiritual chi in the surroundings was in a chaotic mess. The laws of heaven and earth in this place had also suffered devastating damage. It would be impossible for it to recover to its original state without tens of millions of years. Looking at the scorched continent that had been completely destroyed, the lightning bird's voice carried a supreme heavenly might and said disdainfully, "You're just a mere external cultivator. How dare you defy the will of heaven? This is your fate." The only pity is that the trace of 9 raccoons' chi that I sensed just now seems to have disappeared. Was it directly killed by me in the lightning storm? Humph. The 9 raccoon that has an undeserved reputation is just so. It seems like the terrifying description of the 9 raccoon clan in my bloodline memory is a little exaggerated. Previously, when it sensed the 9 raccoons' chi on Ning Fan's body, it immediately transformed into its true form of its Tao soul, and directly unleashed a powerful technique. It seems like it has made a big fuss out of nothing. The lightning bird spread its wings and was about to fly into the vast sky that was about to be destroyed. All of a sudden, its pupils dilated and it was filled with astonishment. The lightning sky that was originally gloomy had turned into the color of the flesh of an animal. Moreover, it was expanding and contracting rhythmically like the internal organs of a living creature. No, it's not just the sky. The surrounding space, the ruins of the continent below and the scenery in front of him had all turned into the color of flesh and blood in an instant. Then it began to wriggle and shrink. What's going on? Who displayed a divine ability that could change heaven and earth? Did it change the shape of heaven and earth? It actually managed to fool the eyes and ears of the heavenly Tao of this world. No, that's not right. This is not a divine ability that could change heaven and earth. This is an illusion technique. Damn it. I was too careless. Break. The lightning bird let out a strange roar. The surrounding heaven and earth that were wriggling with flesh and blood instantly shattered like broken glass and fell to the ground. The illusion of the shrinking heaven and earth in front of him disappeared in an instant. However, just as his consciousness returned to reality, the lightning bird felt a sharp pain. It was as if something had bitten his body. His entire body felt like it was about to break into two pieces. The lightning bird's eyes widened in anger. Only then did he see clearly that he did not turn into his giant form at all. Instead, his body had shrunk to the size of a sparrow in the mortal world, and he was being held in the mouth of a black cat with a ferocious gaze. The surrounding heaven and earth did not suffer from the destructive attack of the lightning storm. That massive lightning diagram was still hanging in the sky. It had not been devoured and destroyed by it. The ferocious domain continent below was also not destroyed by the mushroom cloud of the lightning storm. On a mountain peak on the continent below, Ning Fan stood proudly in the raging wind like a peerless devil god. His left eye was tightly shut, and a stream of black blood flowed down from it. He did not die at all. Damn it. Is this little external cultivator the one who cast an illusion technique on me? He's just a mere external cultivator. He actually, he's really too careless. Damn it. Damn it. Ah. The lightning bird uttered hatefully. As soon as his voice fell, he felt that the black cat that was holding him in its mouth was enraged. The cat bit down hard on his shrunken body, causing him great pain that pierced through his soul. He could not help but wail miserably. His sparrow-sized body wanted to struggle in the black cat's mouth. However, to his horror, he realized that his entire body seemed to have been paralyzed by some kind of poison. He could not mobilize even a trace of lightning power in the surroundings. With his current weak body, it was impossible for him to break free from the black cat's fangs. The sixth of the 9 raccoons, the Tao restriction. The black cat uttered a cold and emotionless voice. When it opened and closed its jaws, it made the lightning bird feel even more pain. Deep in his heart, he felt the greatest fear towards the 9 raccoons in his entire life. He was the ancestral lightning sparrow. An ancestral lightning sparrow that had left his clan. He had never lived in the true world before, and he had never seen any 9 raccoons with his own eyes. All of his understanding and hatred towards the 9 raccoons came from the memories of his ancestors in his bloodline. In its ancestors' memories, it had seen scenes of the 9 fox clan cruelly devouring the ancestral lightning sparrow. In its ancestors' memory, it had seen the 9 great secret techniques of the 9 raccoon clan. And it had a deep understanding of how terrifying the 9 raccoon clan's secret techniques were. The 6th forbidden technique of the 9 raccoon, Tao restriction. This was a type of poison attack. If the 9 raccoon that knew this technique bit another living being of the Tao soul race, it would be able to plant the poison into the other party's body through the wound, causing the other party's power of Tao soul to be sealed to a certain extent. I can't be wrong. This 9 raccoon had bitten it, and poisoned it with a forbidden Tao poison. This 9 raccoon actually knows the 9 raccoon 6th technique. In terms of comprehension, he was definitely 1 in a million in the 9 raccoon clan. After all, the higher the level of the 9 fox forbidden technique, the harder it was to cultivate. According to the bloodline memory of the Thunderbird, only 1 in 10,000 people could cultivate the 6th 9 fox forbidden technique. But even if it was the sixth technique of the nine fox, it should not have been able to suppress it so greatly. The opponent should only be an underage nine fox. Dao Hun's level seemed to be only at stage 2 Emperor grade, which was on the same level as the second Eternal Tribulation. However, the Thunderbird was an adult stage 5 Emperor grade cultivator. Even if it was hit by the sixth forbidden technique of the nine fox, it should only be able to seal a small part of the Dao Soul's cultivation. It should not be able to seal the Dao Soul's cultivation completely, unless the opponent's bloodline was extremely strong, and it was 1 in a million from the Nine Fox royal clan. Hiss. The Thunderbird vaguely guessed the truth. He felt the greatest fear of the black cat that was biting him. It was a fear that originated from his bloodline. The most terrifying thing about the Nine Fox clan was not their ferocity in eating other living beings of the Dao Soul race, but their heaven-defying ability to forcefully take the fate of other clans. The ninth forbidden technique of the Nine Fox clan, the King's Bow. If a living being of the Dao Soul race was killed by the King's Bow, it would implicate the entire clan and cause the clan's fate to be destroyed. The ancestor of the Nine Fox had drawn the bow in 10 steps and chased after the 3 sovereigns of the Dao Soul race to 1 billion worlds to steal the fate of demons. The words in the bloodline memory were still ringing in the Thunderbird's ears. This made it faintly make a crazy decision. It did not know if the Nine Fox in front of it had the ability to use the King Bow to kill it and seize the fate of its ancestral Lightning Sparrow clan. If the opponent really has such ability, then it must not die in the hands of this Nine Fox no matter what. It would rather commit suicide than be killed by the Nine Fox King Bow. This was the common understanding of all living beings of the Dao Soul race. After all, committing suicide would only result in death in one samsara. If it implicated the fate of one's own race, it would be a serious crime and the person would be wiped out in the endless samsara. The black cat held the dying little lightning sparrow in its mouth and landed on the peak of the mountain where Ning Fan was at. It placed the immobile lightning sparrow beside Ning Fan's feet, as if it was presenting a treasure. It meowed and rubbed the edge of Ning Fan's shoes. She had performed a meritorious deed. She had actually done something that even a lowly quasi-sage could not do. She had captured the heavenly Tao of the Supreme Pill Sacred Region. Ning Fan had just used an illusion technique to slightly confuse the senses of the lightning sparrow. After all, its cultivation base was only at the 5th level of the Emperor grade. However, it was at the same level as a 5 Tribulation Immortal King. It was not difficult for him to confuse it with an illusion technique when it was careless. The black cat, on the other hand, was rather heaven-defying. The 5th forbidden technique of the Nine Fox, Reverse Palm. When the black cat used this forbidden technique, it actually seized the control of the lightning sparrow's heavenly Tao, causing the lightning sparrow's ability to mobilize the power of heaven and earth in the surroundings to be completely cut off. It was just a moment of forcefully seizing the control of the heavenly Tao. However, it was already enough to astonish Ning Fan. If he knew that Little Cat had such an ability, there would be no need for him to go to war with the heavenly Tao of this world at all. He only needed to order Little Cat to seize the control of the heavenly Tao for a moment, and use that opportunity to ignore the suppression of the heavenly Tao and enter the profound Yin world. The 6th forbidden technique of the Nine Fox, Tao Restriction. It directly imprisoned the power of the lightning sparrow's Tao soul, causing the lightning sparrow's heavenly Tao soul to be sealed in the next moment, turning it into a weak and pitiful sparrow. I didn't expect that you would actually capture the heavenly Tao soul of this world. However, it's a little strange. Logically speaking, if the heavenly Tao soul of a world leaves its duty, the heavenly Tao of this world will stop operating. Now we have clearly captured the heavenly Tao soul of this world. However, why hasn't the heavenly Tao of this world completely stopped operating? It's just slightly slowed down. Ning Fan looked at the sky in confusion. Master, you might not know this, but the heavenly Tao soul of this world doesn't seem to be one but several of them. This ancestral lightning sparrow seems to be just one of them. I can also sense the chi of a few other ancestral lightning sparrows from the dome of this world. Each of them is much stronger than this one. The black cat pondered for a moment before answering. I see. In other words, even though you and I have captured one of the ancestral lightning sparrows, We still can't stop the heavenly Tao of this world from suppressing my identity as an external cultivator, right? Ning Fan opened his mouth and swallowed the yin yang locket back into his dantian. Then he tried to enter the profound yin world. As expected, he still could not enter it. The heavenly Tao's restriction on external cultivators still existed. At this moment, the gigantic beast eye in the sky which was originally open had already closed. It was the lightning sparrow's eye which was captured by Ning Fan. After one of the beast eyes closed, the other 4 beast eyes opened. The chi from each of the beast eyes was much stronger than the lightning sparrow in Ning Fan's hand. 2 of them were at the 7th level, 1 was at the 8th level, and 1 was at the 9th level. The heavenly Tao of the Supreme Pill Sacred Region was being controlled by the other 4 ancestral lightning sparrows. Moreover, each of them had a terrifying cultivation base above the immortal Emperor realm. This was not a level that the little cat could capture. At this moment, the 4 beast eyes were filled with unconcealable anger. They were naturally angry because Ning Fan, a mere external cultivator, actually had the audacity to openly defy the heavenly Tao of this world and capture one of the 5 great heavenly Tao souls. Initially, they thought that there was no need for all of them to deal with a mere venerated immortal cultivator. Now, it seemed like they had all underestimated this external cultivator's capabilities. This external cultivator actually had the ability to subdue a Royal 9 raccoon as his spiritual pet. A Royal 9 raccoon. A Royal 9 raccoon that could destroy the luck of an entire clan. They could not let the luck of the ancestral Lightning Sparrow clan be lost in the hands of this external cultivator. If the luck of the clan is taken away, the great elder of the clan would certainly be enraged. He would certainly erase all of their existences from the endless samsara. Kegu, since you've been captured by the 9 raccoon, why don't you commit suicide? Are you afraid of death? Above the dome, 4 ancient voices questioned at the same time. At the moment when the 4 voices resounded, the little lightning sparrow in Ning Fan's left palm finally had the determination to face death. It gritted its teeth and forcefully broke free from a trace of the 9 raccoon Tao restriction in its body. It only managed to break free from the restriction and recover a tiny bit of its strength. However, this tiny bit of strength was already enough to ignite the rest of the sealed cultivation base in its body and detonate all of its strength. It wanted to self-detonate. It wanted to use its life to make this audacious external cultivator in front of it pay the price. Self-detonate, is it? Your courage is commendable. Unfortunately, I've already taken precautions against this. How could I possibly give you the chance to commit suicide? The corner of Ning Fan's mouth curled into a cold smile. Countless golden flames burst out from his left palm and turned into hundreds of layers of mysterious seals, sealing the last trace of strength that the little lightning sparrow had to break free from the restriction. This time, the lightning sparrow couldn't even commit suicide. Damn it! Kegu has failed in his attempt to commit suicide. If it's killed by the 9 raccoon King Bao, the luck of our clan will certainly be greatly damaged. Both you and I will suffer the same fate. Fight. Fight this external cultivator to the death. Fight him to the death with the power of the heavenly Tao of this world. No. The 9 raccoon of the royal family beside this young man knows the 5th forbidden technique of the 9 raccoon. It can temporarily control the heavenly Tao for a short period of time. This kind of control is very limited, but it's enough to deprive us of the ability to use the power of the world plane of this world. What should we do if someone else among us is captured by the 9 raccoon during this short period of time? We can't act recklessly. But we'll die either way. At this moment, the 4 chi of the lightning sparrows on the domed ceiling actually began to debate and hesitate. They would kill any cultivator who dared to go against the heavens without any hesitation. Even if a quasi-saint realm cultivator defies the heavens, they would not show any mercy. However, now that they were facing Ning Fan and the 9 raccoon of the royal family beside him, they were filled with fear, hesitation, panic and apprehension. They did not dare to transform into Dao Hun's true form and attack Ning Fan recklessly. Once they transform, there was a possibility that they would be captured by the 9 raccoon of the royal family. However, if they do not transform into Dao Hun's true form, the power of the world plane that they could utilize would be extremely limited. They would definitely not be able to kill Ning Fan. Can we capture more ancestral lightning sparrows? Ning Fan's expression remained unchanged, but he secretly transmitted his voice to the black cat. Just capturing this 5th-level Emperor-grade lightning sparrow has already consumed a huge amount of my strength. The chances of capturing those ancestral lightning sparrows that are beyond the 6th-level Emperor grade aren't high. Of course, if Black Devil doesn't care about his life, I should be able to capture 1 or 2 more ancestral lightning sparrows. Does Master need to capture a few more lightning sparrows? If Master has an order, Black Devil will certainly obey it. The black cat answered with an indifferent tone as if it did not care about its own life. If she could help Ning Fan a little, she would not hesitate even if she had to sacrifice her life. Ning Fan's heart was touched. Of course, he would not let Black Devil risk his life just to capture 1 or 2 ancestral lightning sparrows. In terms of benefits, the value of a 9 raccoon of the royal family was far higher than 1 or 2 ancestral lightning sparrows. In terms of feelings, Ning Fan could feel Black Devil's loyalty towards him. He did not know where that kind of loyalty came from. Ning Fan knew that he had never done anything that could make Black Devil so loyal to him. However, Black Devil treated him as if he was its own life. As long as he gave an order, this little cat would be willing to die for him. If I have to sacrifice your life to capture more ancestral lightning sparrows, then I will forget about this matter. Being able to capture 1 ancestral lightning sparrow is already an unexpected gain. At this moment, the other lightning sparrows are wary of your existence. Instead, they are afraid of me. This fear is actually a good thing. Ning Fan did not plan to let Black Devil use the forbidden technique of the 9 Raccoon King Bao. Killing this 5th-level Emperor-grade ancestral lightning sparrow in front of him would certainly allow him to forcefully plunder some of its luck. However, something like the luck of a race was not very useful to Ning Fan at the moment. He still had 1,500 colored luck, which he forcefully seized from the Dao Carp clan. Because he was worried that using the luck of the race would attract countless forces in the 4 heavens and 9 worlds to plunder it, he had never used it. The luck of the race was temporarily useless. Moreover, using the forbidden technique of the king, Bao seemed to take a huge toll on Little Cat's strength. The side effects could not be ignored. That day, Black Devil had only killed 3 Dao Carps and his cultivation base was already greatly damaged. He was on the verge of death. If it was not a life and death situation, Ning Fan would not have the heart to let Little Cats use such a powerful forbidden technique. Thinking of this, Ning Fan suddenly raised his head and smiled faintly at the 4 beast eyes above his head. How about we make a deal? What deal? The 4 ancestral lightning sparrows who were hiding on the domed roof were suddenly startled. If Ning Fan was alone, they would never put him in their eyes. They would also not lower their pride and listen to what deal Ning Fan wanted to make. They would directly kill him. However, with the 9 Raccoon King Bao by his side, they did not dare to act recklessly. Their attention towards Ning Fan had also risen to an unprecedented level, because of the 9 Raccoon King Bao. I can stop my little cat from using the King Bao to kill this lightning sparrow. However, all of you must agree to 3 conditions of mine. As soon as Ning Fan's words fell, the 4 ancestral lightning sparrows on the domed roof were instantly enraged. What a joke! They were the supreme souls of the heavenly Tao. They controlled the heavenly Tao of a world in the extreme Pill sacred region. Even those lowly quasi-saints would have to lower their status in front of them. A mere lowly external cultivator actually dared to raise conditions with them. Humph! Who do you think you are? How dare you raise conditions with us, the ancestral lightning sparrows? I'll give you 3 breaths of time to release Kegu. Otherwise, we will certainly transform into our Tao souls and summon the lightning of a world to kill you. If you obey us obediently, we can consider sparing your life and allowing you to leave the extreme Pill sacred region safely. 1 breath of time. 2 breaths of time. 2.5 breaths of time. 2 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 breaths of time. Damn it! An external cultivator like you is forcing us to count to 3 breaths of time to kill you. We really have to count to 3 breaths of time. We really have to. Noisy! Ning Fan shouted coldly at the 4 ancestral lightning sparrows who were trying to put up a fierce front. Then he signaled them with his eyes. The black cat at the side immediately pretended to use the King Bao forbidden technique. Ning Fan's action immediately made the 4 ancestral lightning sparrows feel fear. Hold on. Hold on. You must never use the King Bao forbidden technique. If you use it, you will become the mortal enemy of our ancestral lightning sparrow clan. Damn it. This young man is in the illusory world created by immortal King Zido. The distance between him and the true world is too far. He doesn't fear the reputation of our ancestral lightning sparrow clan at all. Alright. We agree to make a deal with you. As long as you promise not to seize the luck of our clan and release Kegu, we can reluctantly agree to 3 of your conditions. No, big brother. 3 conditions are too many. We can only agree to 2 of them at most. No, I can only agree to 1 at most. Half. 1/3 of it. 1/10 of it. This external cultivator seems to be enraged. Shut up, you bastards. Ning Fan's eyes were filled with impatience. He said coldly, "You seem to have misunderstood something. I'm not discussing with you. I'm giving you an order. You must agree to my 3 conditions. If you don't, I will order this 9 raccoon to seize the luck of your clan." No. You can't do that. We will agree to whatever conditions you have. The 4 ancestral lightning sparrows said in shock. Wouldn't it have been better if you had been this sensible earlier? Ning Fan's face was wearing a cold smile, but he was speechless inwardly. The heavenly Tao of the Supreme Pill Sacred Region is just too easy to threaten. Of course, the reason why he could easily coerce the heavenly Tao of this world into obeying his orders was all because of Little Cat. Little Cat, was from the 9 Raccoon clan, which was ranked 4th among the myriad of clans in the Tao Soul realm. Moreover, she was a member of the Royal 9 Raccoon clan. To the ancestral Lightning Sparrow clan, this title was too significant. It involved the fate of their clan. Thus, they did not dare to take any risks. The Tao Carp clan and the ancestral Lightning Sparrow clan both suffered great losses in Little Cat's hands. Little Cat is indeed very capable. I really didn't expect that I would accidentally capture one of the 5 great heavenly Tao souls of the Supreme Pill Sacred Region, after I entered the profound Yin world, just to resist the suppression of the heavenly Tao of the Supreme Pill Sacred Region. May I know what conditions you want to propose to us? Can you return Sparrow Gu to us? Among the 4 ancestral lightning sparrows on the dome of the sky, the oldest voice asked. His voice clearly reverberated between heaven and earth with heavenly might, but it gave people a feeling of lack of confidence. This little sparrow is my spoil of war. Of course, it's impossible for me to return it to you. However, as long as you agree to my conditions, I can guarantee that I won't kill it, and will only keep it as my lightning diagram spirit. Ning Fan was not an idiot. If he returns the ancestral lightning sparrow that he captured to them, he would lose the threat of the King Bao seizing their luck. What awaits him would definitely not be the gratitude of the heavenly Tao souls of this world. Instead, it would be the frenzied revenge of the heavenly Tao souls without any scruples. The first condition is that I want you to gather the lightning power of an entire world for me to devour. What? This is going against the will of the saint who created this world. If we do this, we will. I seem to have already told you that this is not a discussion, but an order. Alright. We can agree to this condition. The oldest voice answered while gnashing his teeth. The second condition is that I want the heavenly Tao of this world to completely discard the suppression that it has on my identity as an external cultivator. The restriction power of some special places in this world that restricts me from flying must also be dispelled. This is also going against. Fine. We will agree to this condition. The old voice said helplessly. The third condition is that if I need you, you must obey my orders. You must kill whoever I want you to kill. This is absolutely impossible. We are the souls of the heavenly Tao. We are in charge of this world under the order of the saint who created this world. We will never listen to the orders of others. In other words, the negotiation has failed, right? If that's the case, I will. Wait. We will agree to this condition of yours. However, there is one thing that you must know. In this great humble clan, there are 3 people that we, the heavenly Tao, can't kill. If you offend those 3 people, don't blame us for not being able to help you kill your enemies. Oh, there are actually 3 people in this world that you, the heavenly Tao, can't kill? Who are they? This is an absolute secret of the extreme pill sacred region. However, since you are the one who asked, it is not impossible for us to answer you. These 3 people are the first 3 of the 5 great supreme beings of the Great Humble Clan. The second and third supreme beings have special identities. We, the heavenly Tao, can't attack them at all. The strength of the first supreme being is too terrifying. Even though all that is left of her now is a pile of white bones and her strength has been greatly weakened, she is still the strongest expert in the entire extreme pill sacred region. She still has the strength of an ancient grand cultivation realm expert. Even we, the heavenly Tao, absolutely dare not attack such existences recklessly. If you order us, the heavenly Tao, to attack these 3 people, we can only say that we are unable to help. Ning Fan frowned when he heard what the heavenly Tao said. His understanding of the 5 great supreme beings of the Great Humble Clan was limited to Niu Gui, who was ranked 4th, and Ten Feng, who was ranked 5th. Today, however, he heard the information about the other 3 supreme beings from the heavenly Tao of this world. The second and third supreme beings had special identities. They were existences that even the heavenly Tao could not attack. The first supreme being had terrifying strength. All that was left of her was a pile of white bones. Her cultivation base was weakening day by day. Even now, she still had the strength of an ancient grand cultivation realm expert. They were existences that even the heavenly Tao did not dare to offend. The Great Humble Clan actually had an ancient grand cultivation realm expert. Doesn't this mean that the foundation of the Great Humble Clan is even more terrifying than the secret races? Who are the 3 supreme beings? Ning Fan asked with a solemn expression. The third supreme being is the remnant soul of the Medicine Buddha, who possessed the Radiance Buddha's body. She wants to refine the Radiance Buddha of the Sacred Mountain into her own reincarnation spirit body. The second supreme being is the remnant soul of the Flame Ancestor, who possessed the Void Flame Death Emperor's body. She wants to refine the Death Emperor into her reincarnation spirit body. They were the remnant souls of the Medicine Buddha and the Flame Ancestor. According to Ning Fan's understanding of the history of the Great Humble Clan, the ancestor of the clan was Medicine Saint Nan. After Medicine Saint Nan died, the good and evil corpses did not die. Each of them occupied half of the forces in the Supreme Pill Sacred Region. The good corpse was called the Medicine Buddha and was worshipped by countless people. The evil corpse's name was Flame Ancestor, and he was regarded as a deity by countless 3 flame cultivators. It seemed that most of the people of Debay thought that the 2 of them had been dead for many years. Unexpectedly, their remnant souls had survived since ancient times until now. Then it attached itself to the Radiant Buddha and the Death Emperor. This matter was definitely the supreme secret of the Great Humble Clan. Putting aside the dead emperor, if Ning Fan wants to head to the Holy Mountain to save Sovereign 2, he would certainly have to go against the Light Buddha. The Light Buddha was possessed by the third supreme being, Medicine Buddha. No wonder the Emperor Butcher was captured by the Radiant Buddha, who was at the same cultivation level as him. This matter was definitely related to the remnant soul of the apothecary that was attached to the Radiant Buddha. Ning Fan sighed and asked again. Who is the number 1 supreme being? I don't know. We only know that she is an extremely terrifying woman. Her origin and identity are unknown. She lives in seclusion in a forbidden area of the 3 Flame Continent. Only a few people in the Great Humble Clan who know the situation call the strongest supreme being Madame Whitebones. Madame Whitebones, huh? Since the strongest supreme being is in the 3 Flame Continent, she should at least not hinder my plan to save Sovereign 2, right? Ning Fan continued to ask about some secrets of the Great Humble Clan. After that, he was too lazy to talk nonsense with the 4 auras on the dome. He kept the little lightning sparrow named K-Gu into the lightning diagram for the time being. Then he gave an order to the 4 auras on the dome. I, Ning Fan, command the lightning power of an entire world of the Great Humble Clan for my cultivation. No mistakes are allowed. This. Understood. The 4 auras answered helplessly. under the situation where all the cultivators of the Great Humble Clan were at a loss. The lightning power of an entire world was continuously transferred to this desolate continent by the heavenly Tao. Chapter 1060. Making a deal with the heavenly way of a world, and using the power of the heavenly way to mobilize the resources of the entire plane for cultivation. This kind of incredible thing had never appeared in the history of the extreme Dan sacred region. Today, however, Ning Fan had set a precedent in this supreme pill sacred region. With the help of the little cat, Ning Fan easily suppressed the other 4 souls of the heavenly Tao in the extreme pill sacred region. With just a single command, endless lightning power of heaven and earth was mobilized from all directions of the extreme pill sacred region. Large amounts of silver lightning gradually gathered in the originally gray sky. As they continued to gather, they formed hundreds of millions of lightning bolts that were as tall as the heavens and interweaved in the sky. More and more flashes of lightning gathered above the desolate continent. They gradually expanded in scale, forming a thunderstorm. A huge lightning vortex appeared in the sky. At first, the power of the thunderstorm was only equivalent to the full power of a celestial king. Gradually, the power of the thunderstorm increased to the level of 2 celestial kings working together, and it continued to rise. 3 kings, 4 kings, 5 kings, 10 kings, 100 kings, king 1,000. A thunderstorm that was equivalent to the combined strength of 1,000 celestial kings finally took form and wreaked havoc in the sky. What an astonishing thunderstorm this was! The countless beasts and living beings on the continent trembled uncontrollably, due to the terrifying might of the thunderstorm. Even some of the immortal venerable level demonic beasts were frightened under the pressure of this thunderstorm. Gradually, magical beasts started to flee incessantly towards the nearby continents. They didn't dare stay here any longer as they were deeply afraid that the lightning in the sky would descend and destroy everything. Ning Fan's expression remained unchanged, but his heart was also shaken. Although he wanted to use the power of the Supreme Dan Sanctuary's heavenly way to mobilize the thunder power of a realm for cultivation, he did not expect to transfer such a large amount of thunder power. When he asked the 4 souls of the Tao of Heaven, he learned that they had mobilized 1/10 of the lightning power of World Plane Realm in the Supreme Medicinal Core Sacred Region for him to use for his cultivation. What a grand gesture! In terms of power, the thunderstorm in front of him was far more powerful than the strongest thunderstorm triggered by the immortal Loli when she evolved her thunder body. This was not a power that cultivators could resist. Even if a celestial emperor were to fall into the center of such a thunderstorm, he would be blasted into ashes within a few breaths. It was not something a human could contend against. To any second-step celestial cultivator, this thunderstorm was a natural disaster. Fortunately, the 4 souls of the heavenly Tao above the dome did not dare to reveal their true forms. In that case, even though they could mobilize such a large amount of lightning power, they could not control it. They could only let the lightning power gather in the sky and turn into natural phenomena, forming lightning storms on their own. They could not use them to attack Ning Fan with their abilities. If it wasn't for the little cat's deterrence, if the 4 heavenly Tao souls revealed their true forms and controlled the lightning power to kill Ning Fan knew that his chances of surviving this terrifying lightning power would be less than 5% if he were to fight them head-on. This 5% chance was the result of him activating the God Exterminating Shield to its fullest. If he were to escape, he would have quite a bit of confidence. Originally, he just wanted to slightly refine the lightning diagram. Now, however, he had a new idea. Why not just swallow 1/10 of this world's lightning power and cultivate the lightning yin-yang? The lightning energy in front of him was formed by the heavenly Tao directly mobilizing the lightning energy of heaven and earth. The purity of the lightning energy was far from the level that cultivators could achieve by summoning their own lightning energy. It was the best material for cultivating the lightning yin-yang art. Sai, please forgive us. We are under your pressure and don't dare to reveal our true forms of the Tao souls without your permission. We are afraid that your servant Jiu Li will capture us. In that case, our authority to exercise the heavenly Tao is limited. We can at most provide you with 1/10 of the lightning power of this world for your cultivation. The remaining 9/10 of the lightning power is under the control of the will of the saints in this world. Even we, the heavenly Tao, can't use it without your permission. Besides, without revealing our true forms of the Tao souls, the only thing we can do is to attract this amount of lightning power. We can't control it as we wish. It's impossible for us to help you refine the lightning power from the side. Thus, how much you can gain from this lightning power will depend on your own ability. It's all right. I'm using the lightning power to cultivate. I don't need your help. You guys can go back now and just wait for my next summon. If that's the case, we will wish you a successful cultivation. As for the matter regarding Kegu, since you aren't willing to return him, we can only forget about it. I only hope that you can abide by the agreement between us and only subdue Kegu as the spirit of the lightning diagram. If you go against the agreement and secretly kill Kegu with the 9 Raccoon King Bao, seizing the fate of my ancestral lightning sparrow clan, we will kill you to the last one of us even if we have to give up everything. We won't rest until one of us is dead. As soon as he finished speaking, the 4 gigantic beast eyes on the dome disappeared one after another. The heavenly Tao of the Supreme Pill Sacred Region needed their supervision in order to operate. They could not leave their posts for too long, let alone stay here to accompany Ning Fan in his cultivation. The number of living beings on the desolate continent decreased. Gradually, there were only Ning Fan, a cat and a few pitiful devil beasts who were controlled by his illusion technique who did not manage to escape. After Ning Fan gave the order, the cat yawned lazily and lay on the ground to sleep. As for Ning Fan, he activated the Tai Su lightning diagram again and opened it. He did not immediately use the Tai Su lightning diagram to absorb the lightning power of the thunderstorm for cultivation. Instead, he first released the ancestral lightning sparrow that he had captured previously from the lightning diagram. It was a 5th-level Emperor-grade ancestral lightning sparrow. Its name seemed to be Kegu. Because it was poisoned by the Tao-forbidden poison of the cat, its body was currently paralyzed and it could not move at all. At this moment, Kegu's expression was extremely complicated. There was the reluctance of being captured by a mere foreign cultivator, the despair of being abandoned by his companions, and also the fear of his future. After being captured by Ning Fan, it was unknown what the other 4 heavenly Tao spirit envoys did. In short, Kegu had already lost his identity as a heavenly Tao spirit, and could no longer exercise the authority of the heavenly Tao of a world. The reason why he did that was obviously because he did not want Ning Fan to borrow Kegu's power to easily control the heavenly Tao of a world. After losing the ability to exercise the heavenly Tao, Kegu was just a 5th-level Emperor-grade Tao spirit. His cultivation base was at the same level as a 5-tribulation immortal king. To Ning Fan, it was naturally a good thing to have such a powerful helper by his side. You're called Kegu, right? Yes. 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 At this moment, Kegu was not stupid since he was now at Ning Fan's mercy. He lowered his status and nodded his head like a chick pecking rice grains. You seem to be very afraid of me. Actually, you don't have to be like this. You don't have to worry. I won't kill you. Your power is useful to me. I hope that you can become the spirit of my lightning diagram. Are you willing to do so? Kegu struggled inwardly. If he agrees to become Ning Fan's spirit, he would need to connect his life with Ning Fan's Tai Su lightning diagram. From then on, he would be the lightning diagram, and the lightning diagram would be him. If the diagram is destroyed, the sparrow would die. If the sparrow dies and the diagram is injured, it would be equivalent to losing his freedom for the rest of his life. After being the supreme heavenly Tao for so many years, it was naturally difficult for him to accept becoming someone else's slave all of a sudden. However, could he say no to Ning Fan? If he said no, would he be killed by the 9 Raccoon King Bao? Compared to losing his freedom, wasn't it more important to protect the fate of a clan? You're not willing, are you? No. Master, you misunderstood me. Kegu is willing. The word master and the word willing seemed to have drained all of Kegu's strength. His expression became dispirited. Ning Fan was, of course, not interested in Kegu's inner thoughts. It was fine as long as the other party was sensible. As for Kegu, it was even more impossible for him to have any mercy. After all, Kegu was determined to kill him from the very beginning. Since that's the case, I will start performing the technique to connect your life with my lightning diagram. During the process, I will need your cooperation. If the lightning power of the lightning diagram invades your body, you must not resist it. Understood. 3 days later, Ning Fan completed the technique of the lightning diagram and completely refined Kegu, who was at the 5th level Emperor grade, into the spirit of the Tai Su lightning diagram. From now on, if Kegu betrays him, Ning Fan would only need a single thought to kill him through the connection of the Tai Su lightning diagram. He no longer needed little Cat Er's help. Under Ning Fan's signal, the Dao forbidden poison in Kegu's body was removed by little Cat Er. Kegu, who had regained his full strength, released his 5th level Emperor grade cultivation base without concealing it. Ning Fan could not help but nod in approval. He was a pretty good 5th Tribulation Immortal King realm fighter. If he encounters an Immortal King of the Dabi clan in the future, he would not even need to personally take action. He could just release Kegu from the lightning diagram to face the enemy. Moreover, the significance of subduing Kegu was not just to have another 5th Tribulation Immortal King realm fighter. More importantly, after the Tai Su lightning diagram had fused with such a powerful spirit, the totem of the ancestral lightning sparrow was added to the ancient picture on the lightning diagram. Then, the power of the lightning diagram skyrocketed, and its ability to restrain lightning was raised to an unprecedented level. With Ning Fan's current cultivation base, he could devour and dissolve all lightning attacks below the Immortal Emperor realm in a single blow. It could be said to be extremely powerful. If I encounter any powerful lightning cultivators in the future, I can capture them and refine them into the spirit of the lightning diagram. It should be able to make the Tai Su lightning diagram even more powerful. Ning Fan had found the direction to cultivate the Tai Su lightning diagram. Of course, the cultivation of the lightning diagram was not the most urgent matter at hand. It was time for him to cultivate with the help of the lightning power that filled the sky. The lightning power of the lightning storm that was formed from 1/10 of the lightning power of a medium-sized world was just too massive. Even if Ning Fan had the help of the Tai Su lightning diagram, he would not be able to do it without 10,000 years of hard work. Since Ning Fan had limited time, he naturally would not choose to refine such a massive amount of lightning power in the outside world. Instead, he spent nearly 1 month to continuously refine and divide the lightning power of the lightning storm. Then he compressed them into dazzling lightning balls and sealed them. In just 1 month's time, Ning Fan had completely compressed the terrifying lightning storm into millions of lightning balls. The lightning storm dissipated and the sky returned to its original state. However, the Tao of lightning that remained in this place was still a little chaotic. Under the turbulent spiritual qi, this place was no longer suitable for cultivators to cultivate. However, this was not something that Ning Fan was concerned about. Without the obstruction of the heavenly Tao, Ning Fan easily opened the profound Yin world in the Supreme Pill Sacred region, and entered one of the 1,000-year-old towers in the profound Yin world. 1,000 years passed in the blink of an eye. When Ning Fan walked out of the tower, other than looking a little more tired and his qi becoming slightly stronger, there were not many changes to him. He had gone through a minor heavenly tribulation in the tower. Naturally, this minor heavenly tribulation could not hurt Ning Fan at all. After 1,000 years and 1 million lightning balls, I have only refined around 60,000 of them. Sure enough, it's not an easy task to refine all of these lightning power. Without much hesitation, Ning Fan entered the second 1,000-year-old tower. Then he entered the third, the fourth and the fifth tower. It was only when Ning Fan walked out of the 17,000-year-old tower that his qi experienced an obvious change. Yin-yang lightning completed. Ning Fan's bone age, on the other hand, had become 60,000 years old due to the continuous cultivation of time. Yin-yang lightning was the fourth yin-yang ancient god realm that Ning Fan had successfully cultivated. The completion of the yin-yang lightning naturally caused his ancient god cultivation base to improve tremendously. His ancient god cultivation base had advanced to the peak of the mid-shedding void realm. If it wasn't because of the shedding void tribulation, Ning Fan could totally break through to the late shedding void realm by relying on the yin-yang lightning. In fact, it was quite possible for him to break through to the peak shedding void realm. The void renunciation tribulation was really a troublesome bottleneck, To Ning Fan's ancient devil and Jieshui cultivation base, the increase of his ancient god cultivation base was somewhat insignificant to the total amount of magic power he had. However, it was of great help to the fusion and qualitative change of the 4 elements in his body. Ning Fan could feel that along with the improvement of his ancient god cultivation base, some kind of qualitative change between his 4 elements seemed to have taken another step forward. The millions of streams turning into a sea was getting closer and closer. If Ning Fan's chi was at the lower second tribulation immortal king realm, before he successfully cultivated the yin-yang lightning, his chi had now reached the middle second tribulation immortal king realm. In the profound Yin world, Ning Fan glanced at the time tower. There were still 28,000-year-old towers and 9 10,000-year-old towers. As long as he had enough resources, he would still have a lot of room to improve his strength with the help of these sealed years. Ning Fan raised his hand and pointed at the sky. Suddenly, a scroll of ancient scripture appeared in midair. It was the first volume of the Tao scripture that Ning Fan created on the wooden island. Now the content of the first volume of the Tao scripture had increased. The ancient god yin-yang scripture had 4 chapters: Rain chapter, War chapter, Dark chapter and Lightning chapter. The ancient demon yin-yang scripture had 1 chapter: Phoenix chapter. The ancient demon yin-yang scripture had 1 chapter: Wood chapter. Now that I've created the first volume of the Tao scripture to cultivate the 27 yin-yang qi, it's convenient but also troublesome. The convenience is that all the yin and yang qi that I've cultivated have a unified cultivation method. When I use different types of energy, I don't need to use multiple cultivation methods at the same time. This avoids the disorder of magic power that might occur when I use multiple cultivation methods. The trouble is that creating my own cultivation method is obviously more troublesome than searching for existing cultivation methods. If I want to cultivate other yin and yang qi, I'll need to create other chapters of the Tao scripture. With the restriction of the shedding void tribulation, even if I successfully cultivate the yin-yang qi, I won't be able to trigger a drastic change in my cultivation base. For example, I've already successfully cultivated the yin-yang lightning, which should be enough for me to break through to the peak of the shedding void realm. However, I'm still stuck at the peak of the mid-shedding void realm because of the heart tribulation. No matter how many time towers I have, I should still use them rationally. Instead of using them to cultivate the cultivation base of the ancient gods and ancient demons that are hindered by the heart tribulation, I might as well use them to cultivate the cultivation base of the ancient devils. The cultivation base of the ancient devils should be the breakthrough point for my cultivation base to skyrocket within a short period of time. However, it's still not enough. What should I do to rescue Sovereign 2 under the watchful eyes of the countless experts of the Saint Mountain, and under the eyes of the Light Buddha? What should I do after rescuing him? Perhaps there are some misunderstandings in my thinking. Rescuing Sovereign 2 from the Light Buddha doesn't mean that I need to have the strength to fight him head-on. I can also borrow strength from others. He still had the extreme yang water that he obtained from the Yellow Spring. To a quasi-saint, it was a good item. If he uses this item as a trade, would he be able to invite the 5 great supreme beings of Great Bay to help him? Perhaps. The trade would be successful, or it might fail. The so-called 5 great supreme beings would be envious of him and kill him for his treasures. Or perhaps he could use the extreme yang water himself. Forget it. There are still a few months before Sovereign 2's execution. I still have time to come up with a good plan. I'll first try the ancient country trading formation that Old Wu offered me, and see what kind of benefits I can get from it. Ning Fan left the profound Yin world and returned to the outside world. He did not continue to stay on this continent that was filled with chaotic spiritual qi. Instead, he soared into the sky and flew across tens of desolate continents. Then he found another continent that was sparsely populated and had excellent spiritual qi to settle down. He chose a forest with ancient trees. Occasionally, some devil beasts would attack Ning Fan in the forest. However, all of them fell into an illusion technique under the gaze of his Fu Li demon eye, and turned into his most loyal servants, patrolling the surroundings. In an open space in the forest, Ning Fan took out a pile of Great Bay's gold and silver. In order to set up the ancient country trading formation, a certain amount of heavenly Tao gold and silver would be required as the materials. During the trade, the heavenly Tao gold and silver would certainly be used. Therefore, the first thing Ning Fan needed to do was to extract the heavenly Tao gold and silver from the Great Bay's gold and silver. With Ning Fan's attainments in the Tao of formations, he easily set up the ancient country refining formation and began to extract the heavenly Tao silver. The extraction process was not smooth. During the first extraction, more than 1,000 taels of silver were directly burned into ashes by the formation fire of the refining formation. The second extraction failed as well, and he lost another 1,000 taels of silver. The third time, the fourth time. The reason why he failed in the beginning was because he was unfamiliar with the ancient country refinement formation. Thus, it was inevitable that his technique would be a little jerky. However, as the number of failures increased, Ning Fan's technique became more and more refined. Finally, he succeeded on the 23rd attempt. From the 1,000 taels of heavenly Tao silver, he managed to extract a small amount of heavenly Tao silver shavings. After that, the refinement process became much smoother. Out of 10 attempts, he could basically succeed 5 times. In just the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, he had finished refining all the great humble gold and silver that he had. In total, he obtained 1 tael of Heaven's Path gold and 2 qian, and 9 taels of Heaven's Path silver and 7 qian. 1 tael was equivalent to 10 qian, and the total amount of Heaven's Path silver he obtained was less than 10 taels, much lower than what he had expected. Even though my refining technique is much purer, it is still not perfect. Otherwise, I would definitely be able to refine more heavenly Tao gold and silver. I wonder what this bit of heavenly Tao gold and silver can buy. Ning Fan took out the jade slip of the ancient country trading formation that Old Wu presented to him. He sent his spirit sense into it and studied it carefully. There were 2 ways to set up the ancient country exchange formation. The first was the official formation, which would directly make a deal with the sky-reaching church, the legendary ancient sacred sect. The second method was to trade with the cultivators in the myriad worlds in the heavens. Ning Fan used 1 tael of heavenly Tao silver shavings and many other formation-setting materials to set up an official formation. It was a grand formation. The formation covered an area of several li. There were countless illusory formation eyes, but only 1 actual formation eye. As soon as the formation was activated, a gigantic bronze scale that was 100 zhong in size suddenly appeared at the location of the only actual formation eye. That bronze scale was sometimes illusory and sometimes real. It was extremely strange. When Ning Fan reached out his hand to touch it, he could sometimes feel the actual form of the scale, but sometimes he couldn't. Little friend, are you a cultivator from the illusory dream world? It seems like it's your first time using the ancient country trading formation. You're very interested in the illusory image of this ancient scale. A voice suddenly resounded from within the formation. That voice gave off a distant feeling, as if it came from an immeasurable distance away, through the connection of the ancient country trading formation. The voice sounded a little old. It sounded like an elderly man. Due to the disruption of the ancient country trading formation, his qi became erratic, making it hard to determine his cultivation base. That's right. It's indeed my first time using the ancient country trading formation. Are you a disciple of the heaven-reaching church? May I know how I should address you? Ning Fan asked. Hehe. You violated a taboo by asking me this question. Be it the official formation or the private formation, the first rule of the ancient country trading formation is to never inquire about the other party's background. This is also the reason why I didn't ask about your identity at all. You should know that in this world, there are many transactions that can be completed. However, if you know the other party's identity, you might not be able to complete the transaction due to the grudges you have and your standpoint. Let's cut the nonsense. Just tell me what you want to buy from my heaven-reaching church, right? The elderly man's voice answered. This is a transaction that will never reveal the other party's identity. The security of the ancient country trading formation is indeed very high. Ning Fan nodded his head in satisfaction. In fact, he was also a little vigilant when he set up this official formation. This question was just a test. After all, he was born in the illusory dream world which was created by immortal sovereign Zido. If this cross-border transaction with the heaven-reaching church of the true world brought any calamity to the illusory dream world, it would not be worth it. As long as the other party tries to sense or probe his world plane through the ancient country trading formation, he would immediately destroy the formation and stop the other party from sensing him. Fortunately, this kind of concern was a little unnecessary. The heaven-reaching church seemed to abide by their rules and regulations. They would not probe any customer who came to trade with them. I don't have a lot of heavenly Tao gold and silver in my hands. I might not be able to buy anything too good from your church. Ning Fan withdrew his thoughts and said, You don't have to worry about the amount of money in the transaction. The principle that my church pursues is to strive for even the slightest amount of money. Even if I can only earn 1 cent of heavenly Tao silver from you in this transaction, I will still serve you with all my heart. You just need to tell me what you want to buy. I want to buy some materials for puppets. I also want to buy some blueprints for them. They should be around the level of a quasi-emperor realm puppet. I also want to buy some devil Tao cultivation methods. It would be best if they can reach the level of a 9 stars cultivation method. I don't know. The blueprints and materials for a quasi-emperor realm puppet. 9 stars cultivation method of the devil Tao. 9 stars cultivation method of the devil Tao. Depending on the type, the price of a 9 stars cultivation method will vary greatly. Even the cheapest cultivation technique costed at least 10 taels of heaven's Tao silver each. If it were the more powerful cultivation techniques, they could even sell for 100 or 200 taels of heaven's Tao gold. I wonder if you have any specific requirements for the demonic cultivation method that you want. How to choose the 5 elements? Or do I need some special cultivation method? Please elaborate, Your Excellency. As for the materials for the quasi-emperor puppet blueprint, there are many different types, and their prices range from 1 tael of silver to 100 taels of silver. Do you have a name for the materials that you need? The old man's introduction made Ning Fan feel rather helpless. He seemed to be a little poor. Even the cheapest demonic Tao cultivation technique needed 10 taels of heaven Tao silver. Originally, he had wanted to buy some demonic cultivation techniques to use as reference in preparation for writing other Taoist scriptures in the future. But now, it seemed that this idea was a little difficult. It was better for him to buy the materials for his puppet first. Now that he could already enter the profound Yin world, he planned to use the countless years in the Time Tower to refine a quasi-emperor realm spiritual puppet. It would at least increase the chances of rescuing Emperor Tuesday. Dare I ask, what is the exchange rate for gold and silver? Ning Fan didn't answer but asked back. 1 gold is worth 10 silver. I see. I only have 1 to 2 qian of heavenly Tao gold, and 8 to 7 qian of heavenly Tao silver. I don't want to buy the 9 stars devil art. Sell me the blueprint of a quasi-emperor realm spiritual puppet first. I will decide which materials to buy based on the blueprint. The blueprint of a spiritual puppet, There are a total of 306 drawings of quasi-emperor realm spiritual puppets in our sect's treasury. Little friend, you can have a look at them and decide which one you need. As soon as the old man's voice fell, one end of the bronze scale suddenly flashed with light. Then, within the light, a jade slip that was sometimes real and sometimes illusory slowly appeared. The jade slip then flew towards Ning Fan. Ning Fan held it in his hand and scanned it with his spirit sense. This jade slip recorded the introduction of all the drawings of quasi-emperor realm spiritual puppets in the heaven-reaching sect's treasury. It was also marked with their prices. The blueprint of the fire crystal puppet was a puppet with the fire crystal unique to the fire world as its core. It was priced at 4 taels and 9 qian of silver. The blueprint of the earth puppet was a puppet with the white soil as its skin. It was priced at 3 to 4 qian of silver. The blueprint of the giant minister puppet was a puppet with the scales of the giant minister as its armor. It was priced at 6 to 6 qian of silver. All of a sudden, Ning Fan found the price of the lotus root puppet among the many blueprints. The blueprint of the lotus root puppet was a puppet with the lotus root of fate as its body. It was priced at 2 to 1 qian of silver. This blueprint was exactly what Ning Fan needed. However, judging from the price of the blueprint, a spiritual puppet that was refined using the lotus root of fate did not seem to be a high-grade item. Forget it. Ningfan does not have the main material needed to refine a high-grade item. I only have the lotus root of fate. I'll just buy this blueprint. I want the blueprint of the lotus root puppet. The lotus root puppet, huh? You shouldn't think that the other materials for this puppet are also cheap just because the blueprint of the lotus root puppet is cheap. The materials needed to refine this puppet are quite expensive. They are even more expensive than some mid-grade quasi-emperor realm spiritual puppets. For example, the main material, the lotus root of fate, is priced at 12 to 4 yen of heavenly Dao gold. If it is converted to silver, it would be 124 yen of silver. Are you sure you want this blueprint? A lotus root of fate is already so expensive? Didn't old Wu say that his master bought an innate magic treasure with 2 to 3 heavenly Dao gold? I'm sure. I just want this blueprint. However, I have an unrelated question that I would like to ask. I have a friend who bought a low-grade innate magic treasure from your sect with 3 to 4 taels of heavenly Dao gold. Could it be that the innate magic treasures of your sect are sold at a very low price? 3 to 4 taels of heavenly Dao gold, to buy an innate magic treasure? Most likely, it's just a processed product. Any ordinary innate magic treasure would be worth 20 taels of gold. Of course, there would occasionally be some problematic items among the goods that my sect collects from the various worlds. These items would be sold at a low price. Without a doubt, the item that your friend bought is probably a processed product. How about it? You seem to be very interested in processed products. Do you want to take a look at the current list of processed products of my sect? Perhaps there might be something that you need. I'm actually quite interested in the processed products of your sect. However, judging from your tone, it seems like your sect will also purchase all kinds of goods from the various worlds. That's right. If you are in urgent need of money, you can also sell some of your valuable items to my sect. Of course, the price that my sect will purchase will certainly not be higher than the market price. Besides, my sect will not purchase any goods that are below the true immortal grade. I see. All of a sudden, Ningfan had a strong interest in this ancient country's trading formation and the heaven-reaching sect that was behind it. He had a lot of good items with him, but he also had a lot of useless items. If he sells them to the heaven-reaching sect, he would probably be able to exchange them for a lot of money. Of course, the first thing he should do is to complete the transaction of the blueprint. The jade slip that recorded the details of the blueprint suddenly made a chi sound and disappeared from Ningfan's hand. Then a tightly sealed blueprint that was sometimes real and sometimes illusory appeared on one end of the bronze scale. All of a sudden, the scale that was initially balanced on both sides tilted towards one side of the blueprint. You can place the gold and silver on the other side of the scale. If the scale is balanced, the transaction will be completed. The elderly man said. Ningfan did as he was told. He placed 2 taels of silver and 1 copper coin of heavenly Dao silver on the other side of the scale, restoring the balance of the scale that was initially tilted. As soon as the scale was balanced, a vast and mighty force suddenly spread out from it. The surrounding heaven and earth even began to switch between illusory and real due to the momentum of the scale. A strong sense of danger spread out from the scale, causing Ningfan to subconsciously move a little further away from the scale. Then the elderly man's warning reached him. Be careful, sir. Right now, the scale of the ancient country is exerting its power to carry out the exchange of worlds. If you get too close to it, you will be involved in the exchange and lose your life. Countless rays of light flashed on both sides of the scale. Amidst the light, the heavenly Dao silver that Ningfan placed on the scale suddenly disappeared. Then, the blueprint that was initially illusory suddenly became solid and turned into a ray of light, flying into Ningfan's palm. The transaction of the blueprint of the lotus root puppet was successful. So this is the ancient country's trading formation. It's really unbelievable. It can actually teleport the goods of the true world to my hands across countless worlds. This kind of teleportation ability was simply unheard of. The capabilities of the heaven-reaching sect were indeed incredible. Ningfan opened the blueprint and scanned through it. He already had most of the materials needed to make the lotus root puppet. He did not lack the main materials either. He just needed to buy some leftover materials from the heaven-reaching sect. Thus, in the remaining time, Ning Fan spent a total of 5 taels of silver and 1 copper coin of heavenly Tao silver to buy all the materials from the heaven-reaching sect. As long as he had enough time, he would be able to refine the quasi-emperor puppet at any time. Every time the ancient country's trading formation is activated, it will last for 6 hours. Is there anything else that you want to buy? The elderly man asked. I would like to see the details of the processed goods of your sect. All right. Please wait for a moment, sir. After making a lot of transactions with Ning Fan, the elderly man seemed to be in a good mood. His tone towards Ning Fan had also become more enthusiastic. Not long after, a jade slip that was sometimes illusory and sometimes real was sent to Ning Fan's hand by the bronze scale. Ning Fan scanned the jade slip with his spirit sense and was instantly speechless. He somewhat understood why Old Wu's master could buy a Xiantian magical treasure with 3 taels of gold. The so-called processed goods definitely had unimaginable flaws. That was why they would be sold at such a low price by a profit-seeking sect like the heaven-reaching sect. Ning Fan had found quite a number of such processed Xiantian magical treasures. Toxic polluted ancient emperor's scepter, Xiantian low grade. Because it has been permeated by a toxic poison, every time the user uses this treasure, their divine sense will be corroded by a certain amount of poison. It is extremely harmful to immortal emperors below the 8th tribulation. Therefore, the price is reduced by 4 gold and 6 qian. Curse flying canopy cloud piercing boots, Xiantian low-grade flying escape magic treasure. This item has been corroded by curse techniques and cannot be dispelled. The user will feel dizzy and feverish day and night, and the symptoms will worsen day by day. Finally, the user's sea of consciousness will collapse and he or she will die. Tao-seeking sword that devours the host, innate low-grade. Every time this sword is used, it will devour the host's cultivation, causing the host's cultivation to drop continuously. Price: 5 to 5 coins, nebula chain of killing relatives to prove the Tao. Jade belt that suffered divine wrath. Using the jade rui that can die 3 times. Ning Fan searched for a long time, but he couldn't find anything useful in the processed products. Not only the magic treasures, but all the other processed products were also unusable. All of a sudden, Ning Fan noticed an item among the processed products. Dark immortal cloud haunted by bad luck. A cloud-type escaping treasure that can be used together with the host's escaping technique to greatly increase the host's flying speed. The disadvantage is that every time it is used, it will taint the host's luck. The original price is 313 gold. And the process price is 13 gold and 4 coins. I got it. It seems like this processed product can't be used by others, but Ning Fan can. Could it be? Old Wu's master was the same as me in the past. Exchanging for something that will taint one's luck from the processed products? Ning Fan guessed. He was from the Fuli tribe that had tainted luck. Although his luck had changed, he was still not afraid of any misfortune in the world. This treasure might be able to destroy the luck of others, but it was harmless to him. At the same time, Ning Fan was tempted by the treasure's ability to enhance his escaping technique. How could the power of a Xiantian realm escaping magical treasure be weak? This was an item that was originally priced at 313 gold. Even after processing, it could still be sold for 13 gold. This is definitely a good item. Unfortunately, Ning Fan couldn't afford it. I want to buy this black immortal cloud. However, I'm a little short of money. I wonder if I can sell some of my belongings to exchange for some heavenly Tao gold and silver? Of course. As long as it's goods above the true immortal realm, my sect will not reject anyone. Of course, the price will not satisfy you. It doesn't matter. As long as you can exchange it for money. Ning Fan took out a pile of junk from his storage pouch. Saying that they were junk was only relative to Ning Fan. To ordinary true immortals, there were many treasures in Ning Fan's junk. Oh, you do have quite a lot of good items. Let me calculate the purchasing price of first Nirvana postnatal magical treasures. 100 of them will be 1 silver coin. 100 of them will be 2 silver coins. A third Nirvana postnatal magical treasures will be the heaven-reaching sect only purchases postnatal magical treasures by 100. So postnatal magical treasures are really cheap. Come to think of it, Most of the intact innate magical treasures are only worth a few tens of gold. How could postnatal magical treasures be expensive? Moreover, they are still being sold at a discount. After selling all the junk magical treasures that he had no use for, Ningfan only earned 3 silver coins of heavenly Dao silver, which was less than 1 silver coin. Of course, he also had some good items that he could sell. However, since they were good items, why would he sell them at a loss? It seems like I won't be able to earn much money just by selling my junk. I can only give up on this black immortal cloud for now. After the transaction ended, Ningfan stopped the trading formation of the ancient country and erased all traces of the formation. After that, he entered the profound Yin world and used 4 Millennium Towers in a row to refine the Quasi-Emperor realm spiritual puppet. There were only 24 Millennium Pagodas left. During the process of refining the spiritual puppet, Sha Beila's primordial spirit was naturally used as the material to refine the spiritual puppet. The appearance of the spiritual puppet was refined into the appearance of a burly man by Ningfan. His appearance was ugly but ferocious. His facial expression was always a hideous smile. It had its own spiritual intelligence, but it was not very high. It would obey Ningfan's orders with absolute obedience, and its mind was filled with the desire to kill. Obviously, Ningfan had successfully refined a slaughtering weapon that satisfied him by borrowing Sha Beila's primordial spirit. In this way, Ningfan not only had Kegu, the primogenitor lightning sparrow, as his fighter, but also this humanoid slaughtering weapon that was comparable to a quasi-emperor realm expert. Under the situation where an immortal emperor does not show up, he could totally do whatever he wants. I don't need you for the time being. Go to sleep. Understood. As soon as Ningfan gave the order, the burly man who had a hideous smile on his face suddenly transformed into a palm-sized lotus root baby. When Ningfan uses it, he could awaken it again and start slaughtering everywhere. There are still countless gold and silver circulating among the people of Great Bay. If I take all of their gold and silver and refine them into heavenly Dao gold and silver, I wonder how much I can refine. What good items can I buy from the heaven-reaching sect? The waters of Great Bay are too deep. If I openly plunder their money and silver, some people might guess that I have the method to set up the ancient country's refining formation and trading formation. A formation of this level would probably be extremely tempting even to the 5 Supreme Beings. If I just go against Great Bay, Supreme Being Nyogue and the others probably won't interfere. After all, quasi-saints avoid karma like snakes and scorpions. When I successfully escaped from Lioli City that day, the 2 Supreme Beings of Lioli City, Nyogue and Shifeng, did not interfere. This is the proof. However, if I leak the information about the ancient country's second formation, I'm not sure if those old monsters will lay their hands on me because of the benefits. Since the gold and silver of Great Bay are beneficial to me, I naturally have to take them all. However, I have my ways to do so. It's not just about the gold and silver of Great Bay. There are other things that I need to do. I'm a little curious about why the immortal emperor of the Sound Thunder clan would suddenly attack me when he had no grudge against me. Who exactly is the one behind this? Ningfan touched his face with his palm. The silver ghost mask that he had not used for a long time appeared on his face bit by bit. Then his black hair turned silver because of the ghost mask's ability. The silver hair of the ghost mask. Because of the improvement of Ningfan's cultivation base, the effect of chi concealment was even better than before. Under the ghost mask, Ningfan's eyes were unprecedentedly cold. He was never the kind of person who would suffer losses. Since he had fallen in the Great Bay clan, the person who caused him to fall must pay the price. Sacred Mountain. Sound Thunder Clan. With a chi sound, Ningfan's body flashed with red light and disappeared. Chapter 1061. The Western Chang grassland was one of the many grasslands in Debay that bordered the ferocious realm continent. This place was rich in spirit energy, rich in grass, and herds of cattle and sheep roamed the land. There were a total of 44 tribes in the prairie, and the most powerful tribe was the Sarah tribe. The Sarah tribe was a tribe that had a late-stage thought-shatterer cultivator. This kind of tribe might not be very eye-catching in the entire despicable tribe, but in a small place like the Western Chang Prairie, Late-stage thought-shatterer cultivators were legendary existences. Old Haku, who was in charge of the Sera tribe's treasury, was lying comfortably on a rattan chair, snoring loudly as he basked in the sun at the entrance of the treasury. Occasionally, Sera tribesmen would pass by with their cows and sheep. When they saw Old Haku, they would respectfully bow to him. Old Haku didn't even bother to open his eyes. He continued to sleep and didn't care about anyone. Even so, none of the Sera tribesmen dared to show any dissatisfaction towards the cold and eccentric Old Haku. This was because this unassuming old man was the strongest expert of the Sera tribe, a legendary existence with a late thought-shattering cultivation. On the surface, Old Haku was basking in the sun and sleeping, but in reality his divine telekinesis was constantly on full alert, enveloping the entire Sala tribe and monitoring the border between the western Chang Plains and the Vicious Realm continent. If there were any rascals who did not have eyes to provoke the Sera tribe, he would be able to sense it at the first moment. If a Triflames cultivator were to invade the western Chang grasslands from land, he would be able to detect it immediately. When he was bored, he would eavesdrop on the conversations of his clansmen to pass the time. Although he never left the house and guarded the treasury for many years, he knew the current affairs of the entire Debay tribe like the back of his hand. Strange. I don't know why the lightning power of heaven and earth has decreased recently. It has become even more difficult to condense lightning power. I'm afraid that the next time lightning strikes will be delayed by a few days. Oh, it's the lightning elementalists in the clan talking. In order to carry out the punishment, the radiant Buddha of the sacred mountain ordered all the Debay tribes to create lightning and contribute lightning energy. The lightning cultivators in the clan had been busy with this matter recently. The heaven and earth thunder power had declined? It was probably because there were too many lightning elementalists absorbing lightning energy to create lightning at the same time, causing an unforeseen event. Old Haku yawned, indicating that he had little interest in the topic. That external cultivator has yet to be captured. The only one who has been captured is the master of the blood martial weapon. According to my many years of experience, there is a 70% chance that the external cultivator, who destroyed the punishment ring, has already left the sacred region with his companions. Haha, 70% chance, should be 100% right? Destroying the punishment ring without permission is a heinous crime in our clan. That external cultivator who goes by the name of Ning Fan must have already escaped. Otherwise, why would he continue to stay in our clan and wait for death? Old Haku thought disapprovingly. Recently, the Triple Flames have not been peaceful. It seems that something has happened to the Meng clan of the Stone Flame lineage. First, the Devil Son died for unknown reasons. Then, an immortal emperor of the Meng clan was severely injured for unknown reasons. Hee, this is good news. The entire Extreme Dan sacred region was divided into two. On one side was the sacred mountain and the many prairies under its rule. And on the other side was the Three Flames. The casualties of the Triflames were good news for any grassland cultivator. Old Haku was eavesdropping on the conversation of his clansmen with extreme boredom. Suddenly, his expression turned to one of shock. He opened his eyes and jumped up from his rattan chair. Unknowingly, a silver-haired man with a ghostly face had appeared in front of him. The man seemed to have just appeared for a short while, but it also seemed like he had been standing there for a very long time. Cold sweat dripped down from Old Haku's forehead. With his late thought fragmentation realm cultivation base, the other party actually managed to get so close to him without him realizing it. The other party is very strong. It is highly possible that he is an immortal venerate of the immortal era. Is he an immortal venerate of the sacred mountain or the Triflames? Why is he wearing a mask? Why is he hiding? Why did he come to the treasury of the Sera clan? I know which grassland Senior is cultivating in seclusion? Or perhaps Senior is an immortal venerate who has just left the sacred mountain's mausoleum. Old Haku changed his usual arrogance and asked respectfully. No, I am not from any grassland under the rule of the sacred mountain. I am also not from the sacred mountain's mausoleum. If I must say, I have just left the ferocious domain continent. Ning Fan's voice was calm. His tone was trembling. However, his seemingly calm words made Old Haku's eyes filled with astonishment. he said with a trembling voice. Why, you are the Tri-Flame's immortal venerate? TT, this is bad. My Xiqiang grassland has been invaded by the Tri-Flames. We must inform the Middle State immediately. Just as old Haku was about to take out his communication magic tool to send a message to the Middle State, Ning Fan's left eye suddenly flashed with a demonic light, causing old Haku's eyes to be filled with confusion. Then he fell weakly onto the rattan chair and fainted. Some of the members of the Sarah clan who were passing by were greatly shocked when they saw Ning Fan's attack. However, before they could even scream, all of them fell into Ning Fan's illusion technique. Their expressions turned blank as if they did not see what was happening in front of them. Then they drove their cows and sheep away. Those who bully me, I will certainly retaliate tenfold. However, you have no grudges against me. I won't massacre your clan. The reason why I came here today is just to borrow the gold and silver of your clan. That's all. Ning Fan said to old Haku, who had fainted. Unfortunately, old Haku, who was unconscious, naturally could not hear his words. Besides, when he wakes up, the illusion technique that Ning Fan planted on him would erase all his memories of meeting him. No one would know that he had come to the Sarah clan. Ning Fan pushed open the door of the Sarah clan's treasury and entered it. After 10 breaths of time, he left the treasury. The treasury was still filled with various types of pills, magic treasures and medicine soul stones. There were also hundreds of boxes of gold and silver that were neatly arranged. Ning Fan took away all the gold and silver of the Sarah clan, which contained the heavenly Tao gold and silver. Then he used the Midas touch technique that could be seen everywhere in the cultivation world, and produced an enormous amount of gold and silver. The gold and silver that he produced naturally lacked the heavenly Tao gold and silver. However, with the resources of the Sarah clan, they would not be able to detect it. 20,000 taels of great desolate gold and 370,000 taels of great desolate silver. Got it. After that, Ning Fan left the Sarah clan and visited the next Xiqiang clan. Not long after that, Ning Fan had visited all the clans in the Xiqiang grassland. After a round of searching, the amount of great desolate gold and silver in his hands had reached 530,000 taels and 12 million taels of silver. If he refines them using the ancient country's refining formation, he would certainly be able to obtain a large amount of heavenly Tao gold and silver. However, Ning Fan was not in a hurry to refine them. Instead, he left the Xiqiang grassland and visited the Black Desert grassland, which was adjacent to the Xiqiang grassland. After leaving the Black Desert grassland, Ning Fan visited the Three Rivers grassland again. One had to admit that illusion technique was an extremely convenient ability. If Ning Fan were to rob the gold and silver of these clans openly, it would certainly cause a huge commotion in the Great Desolate clan. Some people might even deduce the fact that he possessed the second formation of the ancient country. With the help of illusion technique, things became much simpler. There was no need to fight or kill each other. Usually, after using the illusion technique, the other party would be under Ning Fan's control. The process would not be too easy. Under Ning Fan's full speed, his movement technique was very direct. In just a day, he had already robbed more than 70% of the grasslands in the Great Desolate clan, excluding the Middle Province. The currency of the remaining grasslands that he had yet to visit was not gold and silver. Instead, they were stone coins that were made from medicine soul stones. As such, there was almost no gold and silver in the grasslands. Thus, there was no point in stealing them. After robbing the entire Great Desolate grassland, the amount of gold and silver that Ning Fan had with him had reached 73 million taels, and 1.5 billion taels of silver. If he uses the gold and silver of the Great Desolate clan to refine the heavenly Tao gold and silver, the amount of heavenly Tao gold and silver that he would obtain would definitely be enough to purchase a lot of good items from the heaven-reaching cult. The gold and silver that I have stolen can only be considered as the gold and silver that are circulating in the world. According to the information that I have, the gold and silver of the Great Desolate clan are all produced from the 3 great gold mines and 5 great silver mines under the jurisdiction of the Sacred Mountain. These mines are the inheritance of the sacred ancestor of the Great Desolate clan. The locations of these gold and silver mines are extremely well hidden. They are located under some grasslands in the Middle Province where spirit sense cannot reach them. It seems that these mines have always been under the control of Chu Lai's lineage of the sacred mountain. Those who are not important figures of the Chu Lai clan would never know where these mines are located. The locations of the gold and silver mines are actually so well hidden. It is conceivable that the experts of the sacred mountain must know something about the heavenly Dao gold and silver. The reason why they did not use the heavenly Dao gold and silver, but allowed them to circulate freely in the market must be because one or both of the two formations of the ancient country is missing. If I can find the location of the gold and silver mines and directly empty the entire mine, I think the amount of gold and silver I would obtain would definitely be much more. Duolan is the daughter of the previous Chu Lai emperor. Perhaps she knows the location of those gold and silver mines. However, since the sacred mountain valued these gold and silver or veins so much, there would definitely be someone specially assigned to guard them. Even if the person guarding them was not an immortal emperor, it would definitely be in existence at the level of an immortal king, or an immortal venerable. If they were to snatch the mine, it would definitely not be as easy as stealing gold and silver. There would definitely be a huge battle. After that, they might even incur the wrath of the Saint Mountain. Let's not talk about the mine for now. Let's first refine the heavenly path gold and silver in my hands, and buy some good stuff. Ning Fan left the Great Prairie once again, and sneaked into the fierce domain continent. He found a barren land and set up the ancient country refining formation. It was naturally not an easy task to refine such a large amount of gold and silver. It took him 3 whole days to complete the process. After a large amount of refinement, Ning Fan's proficiency in his technique became higher. The success rate of his refinement had increased from the initial 50% to 70%. A total of 928 taels of heavenly Dao gold and 15,400 taels of heavenly Dao silver. He set up the ancient country's trading formation again. This time he was obviously different from the last time. His wallet was much bigger than before. Oh, how long has it been since fellow Taoists last time? You're actually setting up the trading formation again? But the materials that you bought last time are not enough. Do you need to buy some more? Coincidentally, the person who made the transaction with Ning Fan this time was still the disciple of the heaven-reaching sect who served Ning Fan previously. During the previous transaction, Ning Fan's transaction amount was not low. It was a total of 7 taels of heavenly Dao silver. He had earned more than 1 silver coin from the commission. Thus, his attitude towards Ning Fan was naturally very friendly. As the saying goes, strangers become friends the second time. Last time he still addressed Ning Fan as Mr. This time, however, he directly addressed Ning Fan as fellow Taoist. His tone was also much more cordial. Thank you for your concern, fellow Taoist. The reason why I'm setting up the formation this time isn't to buy materials for the puppets. Instead, I want to buy some other things. I wonder if the dark immortal cloud in your sex processed goods has been sold. If it hasn't been sold, I would like to buy it. The dark immortal cloud in the processed goods, huh? Let me look for it. I've found it. Is the item that fellow Taoist wants to buy, the dark immortal cloud haunted by misfortune? This item hasn't been sold yet. Do you really want to buy it? Yes. The old man's tone suddenly became fervent. During the previous transaction, Ning Fan's transaction amount was only 7 silver coins. However, he had already earned quite a lot of commission. This time, if he succeeds in the transaction of the dark immortal cloud, how much commission would he get? The processing price was 13 taels of gold and 4 silver coins. According to the rate that the disciples of the heaven-reaching sect took from 50 to 1, he would be able to earn more than 2 taels of heavenly Dao silver. To him, Ning Fan was definitely a big customer. For the sake of the commission, the old man naturally wanted to make this transaction happen. However, after calming down for a while, he hesitated and said to Ning Fan, "Sigh, fellow Taoist, you should think about it again. This dark immortal cloud can't be bought. The fact that it's being sold at 13 taels of gold at the price of 300 gold coins is a proof of that. My sect would never make a losing transaction. Fellow Taoist and I can be considered as acquaintances. So I won't hide it from you. Before this cloud fell into the hands of my sect, it had passed through several owners. All of the owners of these clouds were at the immortal emperor realm. However, after being harmed by this cloud, all of them died a tragic death without any exception. The ability of this cloud to taint one's luck is very strong. If the luck of a cultivator like me is tainted, it's inevitable for us to encounter mishaps when we enter and exit the cloud. Ning Fan was slightly surprised. He didn't expect that the old man would actually advise him not to buy this item out of goodwill. The old man's words were out of goodwill. Ning Fan appreciated the kindness in his heart. He also felt a little grateful towards the old man whom he had never met before. He smiled and said, "Thank you for your kind words, fellow Taoist. However, I'm confident that my means aren't weak. It should be enough to restrain the bad luck of this dark immortal cloud. Fellow Taoist, please sell this dark immortal cloud to me." Since fellow Taoist insists on buying it, I won't continue to persuade you. Ning Fan placed a sufficient amount of gold and silver on one end of the bronze scale. Immediately, a clump of black chi flew out from the other end of the scale. It flew towards Ning Fan and revealed the true appearance of the dark cloud. It was a low-grade innate traveling treasure. With this treasure, it would undoubtedly be much more convenient for Ning Fan to kill others, rob their belongings and flee for 1,000 li. This cloud was indeed surrounded by an unimaginably large amount of bad luck. This kind of bad luck had probably reached the 8th grade, which was slightly stronger than Old Wu's luck. In other words, even a cultivator who specialized in cultivating bad luck like Old Wu would be affected by the bad luck when using this cloud, and encounter some accidents. Ning Fan, on the other hand, was different. He was the dignified Fu Li ancestral blood. Even though the bad luck of this cloud was extremely strong, it was still under his control. After keeping the dark immortal cloud with satisfaction, Ning Fan decided to continue with other transactions. Fellow Taoist, do you have any other needs? I still want to buy some 9 stars devil techniques. Can I have a look at the details of your sex devil techniques? Of course you can. However, fellow Taoist has already bought the dark immortal cloud. You probably don't have much money left, right? It might not be enough to buy a top-grade 9 stars devil technique. Regardless of what he said, the elderly man still passed the jade slip with the details of the heaven-piercing sex devil techniques to Ning Fan. Ning Fan's eyes indifferently scanned through the list of devil techniques. Even the 9 stars devil techniques had different levels of strength. Some of the weaker 9 stars devil techniques could be bought with 10 to 20 silver coins. However, those powerful devil techniques could also be sold at a high price of more than 100 gold coins. Ning Fan did not need to buy devil techniques that were too good. He did not want to buy devil techniques for cultivation. Instead, he wanted to learn from them. If he were to learn from them, the quality would not be the key. The key would be the quantity. He needed to understand more about the thoughts and ideas of those immortal emperors when they created the 9 stars devil techniques. Only by using them as a reference could he write more chapters of the devil scripture on his Tao scripture. I want the devil technique with the number 41. The same goes for the number 57. Also, the number 123, the number 244. The number. He actually bought more than 109 stars devil techniques in a row. Moreover, most of the devil techniques were unheard of in the 4 heavens and 9 worlds. After all, Ning Fan had directly traded with the ancient sacred sects in the true world. Some of the devil techniques he bought came from the 3 great worlds, some came from the illusory world, and many of them were ancient scriptures that had been lost for a long time. The elderly man took a deep breath. From time to time, the sound of his abacus could be heard. He was calculating the amount of money that Ning Fan needed to buy more than 100 devil techniques. 209 gold coins. If converted into silver coins, it would be 2,904 silver coins. This was a much bigger transaction than the black immortal cloud. The elderly man's attitude towards Ning Fan became even more enthusiastic. Judging from the transaction amount alone, Ning Fan could definitely be listed in the top 10 of all the big customers in his hands. Ning Fan placed the equivalent amount of gold and silver on the other side of the scale, and waited for the transaction to be completed. The elderly man said, "Fellow Taoist, please wait for a moment. My heaven-piercing sect will always give preferential treatment to big customers. You can get a certain discount when you shop. With fellow Taoist wealth, you are already qualified to be a distinguished guest of my sect. I can help you register a distinguished guest card. With this card, you can enjoy a 10% discount when you shop in my sect. I wonder if fellow Taoist needs me to register this card? 10% discount, huh? Why should I spend more money if I can save money? Ning Fan naturally agreed to register this card. There was no need to register too much information to register this card. He didn't even need to give his real name. Ning Fan pondered for a while, and decided to register the distinguished guest card with the code name of the Fox of Slaughter that he used in the blood martial arena. As for the information about his world plane, he didn't tell him. Not long after, a bronze card was passed to him from the scale. The card serial number and the code name of the Fox of Slaughter that Ning Fan used were recorded on the card. Other information was not recorded. The bronze distinguished guest card was the distinguished guest card of the Heaven Piercing sect. With this card, Ning Fan could enjoy a 10% discount when he bought Devil Techniques, saving him a total of 20 gold coins. His money bag was still full. Naturally, Ning Fan still wanted to buy other things. All of a sudden, Ning Fan thought of the problem of his void-rending tribulation. Thinking about how powerful the Heaven Piercing sect was, he asked tentatively, I wonder if your sect has a way to help the void-rending cultivators to quickly trigger the heart tribulation? If there is, I would like to buy such a method. Fellow Taoist wants to help your disciples break through the void-rending tribulation quickly, right? You are really a good master. The old man complimented and continued. For empty-shedding cultivators, the empty-shedding tribulation is indeed a big problem. There are even many cultivators with good cultivation aptitude who are stuck in the empty-shedding tribulation for their entire lives, unable to advance in their cultivation. If they have the blessing of a clan, their clansmen can directly ignore the heart tribulation and break through the void-rending tribulation. Of course, this kind of breakthrough with the help of external forces will affect their future cultivation. I guess fellow Taoist wants to use a more perfect method to help your disciples break through the heart tribulation, right? Ning Fan, who would never admit that he was the one who wanted to break through the heart tribulation, said with a faint smile. With the resources of your sect, you should know many perfect and fast methods to break through the void-rending tribulation, right? Of course, there are many methods. In fact, the business scope of my sect also involves helping cultivators to break through their bottlenecks perfectly. My sect knows at least 20 kinds of methods to quickly break through the void-rending tribulation. The prices vary according to the specific content. This is the detailed list. Fellow Taoists can have a look. A jade slip flew into Ning Fan's hand from the scale. Ning Fan scanned through it with his spirit sense. Then the corners of his mouth curled into a smile. It was indeed worthy of being one of the ancient sacred sects in the true world. They had actually collected so many strange methods that could help cultivators trigger the heart tribulation quickly. However, the prices of the methods to trigger the void-rending tribulation quickly were really a little expensive. Each of the methods ranged from 5 gold coins to 10 gold coins. After all, any of the methods listed here could be considered as something that could benefit a clan. If any clan obtained these methods, they would be able to help a large number of void-rending tribulation break through their bottlenecks and improve their cultivation base without relying on the luck of their clan. Since the items were a little expensive, Ning Fan naturally could not buy all of them. Instead, he chose the method that was most suitable for him and bought it. After the discount, he still spent 12 gold coins on it. Questioning Heart Pill. Questioning Heart Pill. A 9th Revolution Silver Grade Pill. If a void-rending cultivator consumes it, there would be a certain probability of triggering the heart tribulation. The materials required are as follows. The refining steps are as follows. Special requirements. In order to concoct this pill, one must be a cultivator who has experienced the void-rending tribulation at least once. Only by using their own void-rending tribulation as the medicinal catalyst can the pill be formed. The location of the pill refinement was also particular. It must be at a dry place in the ancient sea where the qi of the ancient sea waves can be used to concoct the pill. The materials required for the questioning heart pill were even rarer. Many of them were ancient herbs that had gone extinct in the 4 heavens and 9 worlds. However, with the convenience of the trading formation in the ancient country, Ning Fan easily bought a large number of medicinal materials required for the pill. At the same time, Ning Fan directly spent 8 gold coins to purchase 8 different types of innate soul-nourishing spiritual herbs, together with the 6 types that he already had. He had gathered all the medicinal materials needed to treat the daughter of the Phoenix Emperor. He even had some leftovers. Obviously, Ning Fan bought some more because he was worried that something might go wrong during the treatment. With the convenience of the trading formation in the ancient country, his purpose of coming to the Supreme Pill Sacred Region was easily achieved. As soon as everything was over, he could start treating the daughter of the Phoenix Emperor. Refining the questioning inner heart pill requires a 9th Revolution silver grade alchemy technique. My current medicine soul is only at the 9th Revolution lead grade. Nwaner's medicine soul is sufficient, but Nwaner is not a void-abandoning cultivator and has never experienced the void-abandoning tribulation, so she can't use her own heart tribulation to refine pills. There are quite a number of 9th Revolution silver grade pill refinement masters in the Great Humble clan. Most of their cultivation bases are above the void-shedding realm, and they meet the requirements to concoct this pill. Or perhaps, I can directly buy some things from the heaven-reaching sect to directly raise my medicine soul to the 9th Revolution silver grade, and concoct this pill myself. In any case, the improvement of the medicine soul was not only applicable to alchemy, but it could also greatly improve a cultivator's perception. This method is feasible. However, to refine this pill, I need to find the dried-up land of Gu Hai. It seems a little difficult to find. In any case, he should first buy some heavenly and earthly treasures that could improve his medicine soul, and push his medicine soul to the 9th Revolution silver grade. I still want to buy some things to improve my medicine soul. Alright, here are the details. Fellow Taoist, you can take your time to look through them. If there's anything you like, you can tell me. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, Ning Fan ended the second transaction of the ancient country, and destroyed the traces of the formations around him. He bought quite a number of items that could improve the medicine soul. Most of them were only useful for a 9th Revolution lead grade medicine soul. They were not expensive, and it was enough for Ning Fan to raise his medicine soul to the silver grade. According to the elderly man, it seemed like there was an ancient sect in the true world that was purchasing items that could improve one's medicine soul that were at the silver grade, and above on a large scale recently, causing the heaven-reaching sect to be short of them. If fellow Taoist is in urgent need of these items, you can use the private transaction formation of the ancient country, and directly trade with the cultivators in the myriad worlds in the heavens. Even though our sect doesn't have a lot of them in stock, the world is so vast. There must be some cultivators who have a large number of items that fellow Taoist needs. If fellow Taoist is in urgent need of these items, you can use the private transaction formation of the ancient country, and directly trade with the cultivators in the myriad worlds in the heavens. Even though our sect doesn't have a lot of items in stock, given how vast the world is, there must be some cultivators who possess a large number of items that fellow Taoist needs. Of course, if it's a private transaction between cultivators, our heaven-reaching sect will receive a certain amount of commission from the transaction. Besides, as private transactions avoid the power of the ancient country of our sect, the risks of the transaction are rather high. 1/3 of the transactions will fail due to the chaotic flow of time and space, resulting in the loss of both goods and money. The old man's words were still ringing in Ning Fan's ears, causing him to temporarily give up on the idea of becoming a 9 Revolution Golden Core Pill Master. Alchemy was not a top priority. It was enough to refine the questioning inner heart pill. It seemed like he had a lot of heavenly Tao gold and silver, but that was just a one-time deal. This time, he had robbed the entire Great Bay, and next time, he didn't know where he was going to get more heavenly Tao gold and silver. Money should be spent where it is needed. With a flip of his hand, Ning Fan took out the pig-faced treasure box. He was considering whether he should borrow the sage's will in the treasure box to speed up the refinement of the heavenly materials and earthly treasures, allowing his medicine soul to advance to the 9th Revolution silver grade. or enter the profound Een world and borrow the power of the Time Tower to facilitate this. The restriction that the Well of Vexation placed on the pig-faced treasure box had already disappeared. The treasure box could be used again. This box can reverse time within a certain range. However, it did not seem to be reversing the time of the entire world. The clearest memory he had was the day when he walked out of the Fire Spirit Tower and returned to the outside world. To his surprise, the time in his body did not match the time in the outside world. There was actually a difference of several hours. On that day, he died and was reborn again and again in the depths of the Yellow Spring. Everything around him seemed to have returned to the previous time, but in fact, the time of the entire world did not go backwards because of Ning Fan. Only within the range of the treasure box, time was reversed. Hence, there was a time difference. I still don't have an accurate understanding of the ability of this box. I still need to study it carefully. While he was deep in thought, a large number of gray clouds suddenly appeared in the distant sky of the ominous region. Then, an immortal emperor's chi that stirred the wind and clouds spread out from the depths of the gray clouds. Then an immortal emperor's spirit sense locked onto Ning Fan's body. As Ning Fan was still trading in the ancient country just now, he naturally did not wear his ghost mask. His true appearance was directly exposed to the intruder. Moreover, he did not expect that an immortal emperor would suddenly come here. He had already severed his own karma. How did this immortal emperor still track him down? Or perhaps, the other party was not tracking him down? It was just a chance encounter with him. Oh. Originally, I just sensed something and wanted to see which secluded old thing was studying the ancient country's trading formation here. Unexpectedly, I did not see that old thing but an unexpected person. Shouldn't you, an external cultivator, have escaped from the holy region in a sorry state after being chased by the Light Buddha? Why are you still here? I can't sense any karma at all. You're really impressive. You actually blocked the karma perception. How did you do this with your insignificant cultivation base? Forget it. You don't seem to want to talk much. It seems like I won't be able to get an answer from you if I ask you directly. Why don't I capture you and search your soul and memories? I should be able to get the answer I want. You don't have to hate me. Our encounter today is the proof of karma. You killed my reincarnated spirit body and blocked the karma for Old Man Lu Tua. Killing you is also in line with the cycle of karma. In the depths of countless gray clouds, a man in gray robes looked at Ning Fan who was below him indifferently. Then he pressed his 5 fingers downwards. The gray clouds that swept across heaven and earth instantly condensed into a palm imprint that was the size of a continent and pressed down on the continent where Ning Fan was. Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. With a flash of golden light, he instantly flew out of the territory of the continent. At the next moment, countless mountains and rivers on the continent turned into ashes under the pressure of the man in gray robes. You're really fast at dodging. However, it's useless. Great Devil Space Escape. The man in gray robes seemed to have crossed an immeasurable distance in an instant and appeared in front of Ning Fan. His fingertip glowed with gray light. He raised his finger and pressed it on Ning Fan's glabella. The attack came too quickly. It was so fast that Ning Fan did not even have the time to react. He could only instinctively activate the golden light of the God Exterminating Shield to protect him and block the man's gray finger. Even though the defense was successful, some of the force of the man's finger still managed to penetrate the God Exterminating Shield and hit Ning Fan's body. As a result, Ning Fan's glabella was penetrated by the finger, forming a bloody hole that was half an inch deep. Gray chi sizzled and continuously corroded the wound. Even with Ning Fan's recovery ability, the wound could not heal on its own. Who is this immortal emperor in gray robes? What does he mean by blocking Lu Tuo's karma? Capture him. I want him alive. Suddenly, an extremely ancient voice resounded from the body of the immortal emperor in gray robes. At first, the immortal emperor only had a playful look on his face when facing Ning Fan. However, when he heard the voice in his body, he was instantly shocked. Could this insignificant junior in front of him actually have such a big secret? Otherwise, how could he attract the interest of the dignified flame ancestor? He actually requested to capture him alive. Yes. facing the request of the flame ancestor. Even he did not dare to disobey. With a wave of his hand, the gray clouds that filled the sky turned into a huge net that covered the sky and fell on Ningfan's head. Ningfan subconsciously wanted to avoid the net. However, as his body moved, he realized that the surrounding space was sealed. The grand force of heaven and earth was controlled by the immortal emperor in gray robes. He actually could not activate his escape technique to avoid the net. At the critical moment, Ningfan stepped on the sky. Countless golden flames of the grand force burned fiercely, burning the grand force of heaven and earth that was restraining him into ashes. Then he flew to a distance of a few continents, avoiding the huge net by a hair's breadth. The eyes of the immortal emperor in gray robes suddenly turned gloomy. He had attacked a junior immortal venerate 3 times in a row. To an existence like him, it was not something worth boasting about. You can't run away. Chapter 1062. You won't be able to escape. The gray-robed immortal emperor said in a gloomy tone. He lifted one of his fingers and pointed at Ningfan. His fingertip flashed with gray light, as if he was about to unleash some powerful divine ability. His half-step quasi-saint realm aura swept across the entire place. From the gray-robed immortal emperor's point of view, the reason why he could not take Ningfan down with 3 consecutive attacks was because he had underestimated his enemy. Now that he was going to use his full strength, he was confident that he could take Ningfan down. As he pointed his finger, the surrounding continents instantly lost their colors. Everything that entered his sight was coated with gray. Moreover, the moment the color of heaven and earth changed, the gray-robed immortal emperor seemed to have replaced the heavenly Tao of the gray world he was in. It was as if he was the absolute king in this gray domain. This is the power of a sovereign. Ningfan's eyes widened in shock. It was not his first time seeing a sovereign immortal emperor. He had even seen the void of the sovereign realm of the monster with the eyeball and Taoist Musang. The gray-robed immortal emperor in front of him actually changed the color of the surrounding heaven and earth with his sovereign power, and formed a domain that belonged to him. It was Ningfan's first time seeing such a situation. Dangerous. Extremely dangerous. The sense of danger that the gray-robed immortal emperor gave him was not any weaker than the sense of danger he felt when the Radiance Buddha's chi descended upon him. Considering the fact that this person had the chi of a half-step quasi-saint realm expert, his identity was obvious. Could this person be the Lord of Spatial Flame, the strongest expert among the 3 flames who is on par with the Radiance Buddha? This person's sovereign power seems to be a little special. The traces of the Tao laws in it are all gray. I can't tell which type of Tao law it is. Besides, if this person is really the Spatial Flame Death Emperor, according to the words of the few heavenly Tao souls of the lightning sparrows, this person should also possess the remnant soul of the flame ancestor, who is ranked second among the 5 venerated beings of great inferiority. I can't be wrong. This gray-robed immortal emperor already gives me a very dangerous feeling. There seems to be an even more terrifying chi hidden in his body. It's the powerful chi of a second-level quasi-saint. I can't defeat this person. All of a sudden, countless gray and misty palm threads shot out from the surrounding gray heaven and earth. They entangled Ningfan's 4 limbs and bound him tightly in the air. Ningfan's body began to lose control of itself. Even lifting a finger required a great amount of strength. The gray lines of his palm dug into his flesh, making him feel a faint pain. Gray-robed immortal emperor's mocking eyes locked on Ningfan from a few continents away, as if he was looking at an ant struggling before its death. I told you you can't escape. That mocking voice reverberated across heaven and earth. Every time it reverberated, Ningfan's blood and chi would churn. Ningfan's heart sank to the bottom. Under the restraints of the palm lines, the protective golden light of the god exterminating shield in his body was actually suppressed, and it was difficult for it to materialize. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation since he had obtained the god destroyer shield. After all, the God-vanquishing shield fragment that he possessed was only one of the 6 fragments. It wasn't the complete God-vanquishing shield. The power that a single fragment could display was limited. Moreover, Ningfan, who was using this fragment, had a cultivation base that was far from the immortal emperor realm. Against ordinary immortal emperors, perhaps Ning Fan could still use the power of the god exterminating shield to deal with them for a while. However, against half-step quasi-saint realm old monsters, a fragment of the god exterminating shield was not enough. Their current situation could only be described as hopeless. But so what if it was a hopeless situation? So what if it was the Void Flame Death Emperor? Ning Fan would remember this grudge in his heart. See defying appear. Ning Fan could not move his body at all. Thus, he no longer tried to break free from the palm lines on his body. Instead, he shouted in a deep voice. As soon as he gave the order, the surrounding heaven and earth was immediately filled with sea breeze. In the salty sea breeze, a ray of blue sword light suddenly appeared. The body of the sword was imbued with the power of the Tao Execution Divine Sword, giving off an unfathomable feeling. It was none other than Ning Fan's ancient diagram Tao weapon, Sea Defying Sword. The sword control technique was a basic technique of cultivators. It was impossible for Ning Fan to not know it. Even though he could not move his physical body at the moment, it did not stop him from using his spirit sense to control the sword. However, due to the sea-defying sword being too heavy, Ning Fan usually used his physical strength to control it. It was his first time being forced to use his spirit sense to control the sword. The sea-defying sword was too heavy. Controlling it with his spirit sense was a huge burden to Ning Fan. However, he could not care less about that at the moment. Under the control of his spirit sense, the sea-defying sword only needed to send out a few rays of Tao Execution Sword light to split the Tao Execution Divine Sword that was binding his body. Under the disbelieving gaze of the gray-robed immortal emperor, Ning Fan regained his ability to move while withstanding the heavy power of the palm lines. At the moment when he regained his mobility, he turned his hand and summoned a strange-looking dark cloud. As soon as he stepped on the cloud, his body immediately shot towards the other end of the sky. In just a split second, he ran out of the range of tens of mainlands that were covered by the power of the palm lines of the gray-robed immortal emperor. His speed was extremely fast. For the first time in his life, it was Ning Fan's first time achieving such speed with his own cultivation base. This young man has a lot of tricks up his sleeves. Don't underestimate him. Hurry up and chase after him. Don't let him get away. The old voice in the gray-robed immortal emperor's body immediately sounded dissatisfied. Lord Flame Ancestor, don't worry. No matter how many tricks this young man has up his sleeves, he is just an immortal venerable. It's pure wishful thinking if he wants to run away from me. Even though he said that, the gray-robed immortal emperor's heart was actually filled with astonishment. He had even used the power of the palm line, but he actually failed to restrain Amir Jr. The young man first used the sword controlling technique to control the Tao soldiers. Then he used the Tao soldiers to display some kind of strange sword technique, and actually severed the Tao law thread of his palm line. If this kind of thing happened to a half-step quasi-saint realm expert at the same level as him, the gray-robed immortal emperor would not be too surprised. However, he found it a little unacceptable that an immortal venerable junior could do it. A mere immortal venerable kid actually had the ability to resist his power of the palm line. This matter, moreover, after the young man severed the restraint of the palm line, he directly chose to escape on a cloud. He had no idea what kind of cloud he was riding on. His speed was simply unimaginably fast. With just a leap, he directly flew out of the range of the palm line of his palm line. That was a distance of tens of mainlands. Ordinary true immortals would need at least a few months to travel across those mainlands. However, this young man actually crossed such a distance in just a flash. Humph. Not bad. The gray-robed immortal emperor's eyes narrowed. After confirming the direction where Ning Fan was escaping to, his body swayed and turned into a ray of gray light that pierced through heaven and earth, chasing after Ning Fan. Escaping techniques had always been his advantage. He was quite confident in catching up to Ning Fan. He was the fastest cultivator of the Great Humble Realm, after the 5 venerated beings of the Great Humble Realm. With just a leap, he could also fly across 50 to 60 ferocious mainlands. His speed was not much slower than the terrifying speed that Ning Fan displayed just now. Close. 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 The distance between the gray-robed immortal emperor and Ning Fan was constantly getting closer. In the beginning, there were 60 to 70 mainlands between them. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, the distance between the two of them was only 40 to 50 mainlands. The gray-robed immortal emperor formed another hand seal, and his speed increased a little more. After the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, there were only 16 to 17 mainlands left between them. Seeing that he would be able to catch up to Ning Fan soon and capture him, Ning Fan's speed suddenly increased without any reason. Gradually, Ning Fan's speed became the same as the gray-robed immortal emperor's. Gradually, Ning Fan's speed surpassed that of the gray-robed immortal emperor, and the distance between them began to increase. 27 mainlands, 49 mainlands, 66 mainlands, 91 mainlands, 147 mainlands. After chasing for 1 hour, the distance between the gray-robed immortal emperor and Ning Fan actually increased to more than 300 mainlands. After chasing for another hour, Ning Fan had completely escaped out of the range of his spirit sense, and completely disappeared. The gray-robed immortal emperor's face turned extremely gloomy. After losing track of Ning Fan, he searched for a long time in the surroundings, but he could not find any trace of Ning Fan at all. He was completely unable to determine which direction Ning Fan had escaped to. He was unwilling to admit it, but he had no choice but to admit that he, the dignified Skyflame Death Emperor, actually lost track of a mere immortal venerable external cultivator. The ferocious domain was vast and sparsely populated. There were more than 1 million low-grade and mid-grade mainlands in it. At this moment, Ning Fan had already escaped from the lock-on of his spirit sense. All he needed to do was to hide in the vast mainlands and block off his karmic sense. Then he would no longer be able to find Ning Fan's whereabouts. No matter how powerful his means were, he would not be able to find a needle in a haystack. Humph! You actually let an immortal venerable junior get away. Your cultivation base is really wasted on a dog's body. Inside the gray-robed immortal emperor's body, the elderly man scolded angrily. The gray-robed immortal emperor was used to being in a high position. Of course, he was displeased to be scolded by others. However, he did not dare to lose his temper at the elderly man. Instead, he said calmly, "That young man's escaping speed is unimaginably fast. With Lord Flame Ancestor's eyesight, it's impossible for him not to see through it. That young man's speed after his last burst was not much slower than a real first-level quasi-saint. Let alone me. Even if a real first-level quasi-saint were to chase after him, he might not be able to catch up to him. That should be a rare flying innate magic treasure in this world, right? That young man has so many means. He doesn't look like an immortal venerable junior at all. I suspect that this young man is also an existence similar to a reincarnated spirit body, which is possessed by a quasi-saint old monster. A slip-up is a slip-up. Don't look for any excuses. With my eyesight as a saint evil corpse, I will definitely not be wrong. This young man has not lost his original self. He isn't some reincarnated spirit body. He is different from you." The old voice snorted coldly. "He isn't a reincarnated spirit body, but he actually has so many means." The gray-robed immortal emperor's expression turned gloomy. He then asked, "According to Lord's perception, is it possible that this young man has the second formation of the ancient country?" "I can't rule out this possibility, but it's not too likely. The second formation of the ancient country is the world's absolute secret. Even I have only seen old man Nan Yao use it from afar. I don't know the specific structure of the formation. What's the possibility of a mere immortal venerable knowing such a great secret of the world? Judging from the fluctuation of the formation, this young man should only be studying the second formation of the ancient country. Humph! Looking at my clan, there are many old men who study the second formation of the ancient country in private. Unfortunately, how many of them can get any results? This young man is not one more. However, there is a certain power in this young man that makes me a bit interested. Forget it, I was just passing by this place. Because I sensed something, I came to check it out. Since this young man has already run away, there is no need to chase after him. If I didn't sense it wrongly, you and I might be very busy in the following days. Just now, The crazy woman who is in a deep slumber in the corpse mountain range actually showed signs of waking up again for some reason. You and I must rush back to the void flame immediately and head to the corpse mountain range to reinforce the seal. If we hesitate and let this crazy woman wake up, you should know the consequences. What? Madame Whitebones is actually going to wake up again? How many years has it been since she last woke up? Speaking of Madame Whitebones, the eyes of the gray-robed immortal emperor actually revealed a trace of fear. It was really a little unbelievable that such an expression would appear on the face of an existence like him. Let's return to the void flame immediately. Yes. On a certain uninhabited continent, Ning Fan withdrew his dark immortal cloud and descended to the ground with his magic power depleted. After a difficult escape, he finally escaped from the pursuit of the gray-robed immortal emperor and completely shook him off. After escaping, even Ning Fan himself found it a little unbelievable. He did not expect that he could actually succeed in his escape this time. After all, if his guess was not wrong, the gray-robed immortal emperor was the strongest expert among the three flames. Moreover, his body even possessed the body of the revered being who was ranked second among the 5 great revered beings. He was an existence that was even more dangerous than the Light Buddha. Even Tu Huang would be captured when facing the Light Buddha, but Ning Fan could escape from the Death Emperor's hands. Doesn't this mean that Ning Fan's current ability to escape is even stronger than Tu Huang? Hehe, having a strong ability to escape is not something to boast about. After all, escaping itself is a kind of humiliation. However, the reality was just that helpless. Under the absolute suppression of the other party's strength, Ning Fan could only choose to temporarily hide. If it were any other immortal venerables who managed to escape from the pursuit of a dignified half-step quasi-sage, they would certainly be proud of themselves and list it as the most glorious achievement in their lives. Such incidents were not uncommon in the cultivation world. For example, a cultivator in the Dujin realm withstood a move and a half from a cultivator in the Shedding Void realm. A cultivator in the Shedding Void realm managed to escape from a cultivator in the Thought-Breaking Void realm, and a cultivator in the Thought-Breaking Void realm managed to injure a corner of the immortal venerable's clothes. Many people would boast about such an achievement of surpassing their cultivation realm. Ning Fan, on the other hand, only felt indignant and angry. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with cold light. Being chased by the dignified Death Emperor for no reason, anyone would feel a little angry. Recalling the scenes that happened after he encountered the Death Emperor, Ning Fan could tell that the Death Emperor's sudden appearance was probably just a coincidence. The other party seemed to have come to investigate by following the senses of the 2 formations of the ancient country. When I was setting up the ancient country's trading formation, I had already set up supplementary formations in the surroundings to isolate the fluctuations of the formation. However, I didn't expect that it would still attract the attention of others. The other party seems to have some special method that can specifically sense the 2 formations of the ancient country. However, when I set up the 2 formations of the ancient country for the first time, the other party did not show up. This time, however, he did. This kind of sensing method probably isn't absolutely effective. There should be a certain limit to it. This limit might be related to the weather and geography. The geography is the distance. When it comes to sensing something, the closer one is to the target, the more intense the sensing would be. The weather is the wind. Previously, when I set up the formation, the sound of the wind was chaotic and my deductions were chaotic. Today, however, the sound of the wind is calm and my deductions are clear. Ning Fan muttered inexplicable words. His heart was echoing the words that Phoenix Emperor Chongming told him that day. The heavens will is like the wind. It has no form, no body, no trace, no root and no duckweed. However, even the wind has sounds. There are also things that we can figure out. The wind rises without a sound. When it encounters something, the sound will be heard. When something is loud, the sound will be loud. When something is soft, the sound will be soft. When there is resistance, there will be resistance. When there is no obstruction, there will be silence. When there is no obstruction, there will be calm. This is the sound of the wind. The 2 words, the sound of the wind, were the essence of all deduction techniques in heaven and earth. Most of the old monsters who were good at deducing heaven and earth could hear the sound of the wind from everything in the universe. It was not the sound of the wind in the natural world. Instead, it was the sound of the movement of the heavenly Tao. Ning Fan consumed a few pills and sat cross-legged on the ground. He refined the medicinal power of the pills and recovered his magic power that was almost exhausted. Then he slowly closed his eyes. The ferocious domain continent that he was sitting cross-legged on to recover was a desert continent. The storm around it was quite violent, and the sound was loud. However, what Ning Fan wanted to hear was not the sound of the wind. He calmed his mind and gradually, his ears became quieter and quieter. He could no longer hear the sound of the storm in the desert. Gradually, Ning Fan heard the sound of the wind rubbing against the great Tao of heaven and earth. It was the sound of the great Tao of heaven and earth operating. The sound that Ning Fan could hear was very faint. After all, after receiving the guidance of Phoenix Emperor Chongming, he was just at the beginner level of the deduction technique. With this little bit of deduction technique, he could not deduce the things that were too secretive in heaven and earth. Similarly, he could not deduce the things that were related to those powerful cultivators. Currently, Ning Fan was not deducing anything. Instead, he was confirming his own guess. As expected, the great Tao of heaven today was very calm. Under such circumstances, cultivators who were good at deduction would usually be able to deduce things more accurately. It seems like I shouldn't use the trading formation of the ancient country on such a sunny day. If I use this formation on a day when the great Tao of heaven is in a mess and the great Tao is in a mess, the dead emperor probably won't be able to sense it if I set it up in a place that is further away from the 10th grade ferocious domain continent. What happened today is a lesson. I need to choose the time and place carefully the next time I set up the formation. After a long time, Ning Fan finally recovered his magic power. He exhaled a mouthful of turbid qi and stood up. Being chased by the dead emperor this time was a lesson for him. The only thing that made him happy was that the power of the black immortal cloud was much stronger than what he had imagined. This was the first time he used the black immortal cloud after he bought it. Its effect was outstanding. By relying on the speed boost provided by the cloud, he actually managed to shake off the dead emperor, with his advantage in speed. Without this cloud, my speed would only be comparable to a first-level immortal king at most. After using this cloud, I actually managed to escape from a half-step quasi-saint realm expert. This black immortal cloud is indeed an expensive item that costs 300 taels of heavenly Tao gold. There is indeed a reason why it's so expensive. This time, I was able to use this cloud to shake off the Death Emperor. Next time, I wonder if I will be able to use this cloud to shake off the Radiant Buddha. With this cloud, I will finally have some confidence to rob the execution ground. Unfortunately, it's my first time using this cloud. My technique of controlling the cloud is still a little rusty. I still need to get used to it. Otherwise, my speed of controlling the cloud would be even faster. However, it's still not enough. Currently, I actually don't have the power to resist existences at the same level as the dead emperor and the Radiance Buddha. Even the God Exterminating Shield isn't strong enough. It's not that the God Exterminating Shield isn't strong. It's just that the person using it is too weak. Ning Fan touched the bloody hole on his glabella. The Grey Palm Realm Dao Law on the bloody hole had already been cut off by Ning Fan with the power of the Dao Execution Divine Sword. The wound was regenerating bit by bit under Ning Fan's powerful recovery ability. Not long after that, the wound was completely healed. Not even a scar was left. However, Ning Fan's mind was slightly alerted. The scene where the dead emperor pierced through his God Exterminating Shield with a single finger and left a bloody hole on his glabella was still vivid in his mind. On that day, when the eyeball monster used the God Exterminating Shield, it was strong enough to fight against Mo, who had the strength of an ancient great cultivator. As for him, he could not even defend against the attack of a half-step quasi-saint realm expert. After obtaining the Black Immortal Cloud, I already have a relatively perfect plan to rescue Sovereign Slayer. The only thing I lack is the corresponding power to carry out this plan. First of all, I need to break the restriction of the Void Renunciation Tribulation within a short period of time, and let my divine and demon cultivation bases completely attain the thought fragmentation realm. If my divine, demon and devil cultivation bases all attain the thought fragmentation realm, my 4 types of bloodlines might be able to induce a qualitative change like millions of streams turning into an ocean. After some consideration, Ning Fan did not waste the saint's will in the pig-faced treasure box to speed up the absorption of the medicinal power. Instead, after taking a short rest, he entered the profound Een world in a flash and used a Millennium Tower. When he walked out of the profound Een world, there were only 23 Millennium Towers left. The grade of Ning Fan's medicine soul was forcefully raised to the 9th Revolution Silver grade, after being accumulated with countless heavenly materials and earthly treasures. Of course, the series of advancements had made his medicine soul very weak. Perhaps he would need to concoct a large amount of pills to solidify his medicine soul. As for the pig-faced treasure box, Ning Fan had also done some in-depth research on it. After gaining a better understanding of it, he gradually gained some experience in using it. This item could become another great reliance for him when he faces powerful enemies in the future. Now that his medicine soul had been forcefully raised to the 9th Revolution Silver grade, after being accumulated with numerous heavenly materials and earthly treasures, it was enough for him to concoct the questioning inner heart pill. There were many requirements to concoct the questioning inner heart pill. Firstly, he needed a 9th Revolution Silver grade medicine soul. Secondly, he needed to have experienced at least one void renunciation tribulation. Thirdly, he needed to concoct the pill in a dried-up land. He did not lack any medicinal ingredients at all. The only thing he lacked was to find a dried-up land in Guhai to concoct the questioning inner heart pill. After the East Sea turned into mulberry fields and lost the South Sea, it turned into purple bamboos. No one buried the monks in the mulberry fields, and the hearts of the purple bamboos and stone fishes withered. Those were the words written in the pill recipe by the ancient cultivator, who created the questioning inner heart pill. Judging from the words, the reason why he needed to find a dried-up land in Guhai to concoct the questioning inner heart pill seemed to be because he wanted to borrow the atmosphere of the sea changing into mulberry fields to concoct the pill. No matter how vast the sea was, there would still be a day when it would dry up. The sea would turn into mountains and rivers, and the desert would submerge into the sea. Things would change and the stars would change. Ning Fan felt that he had somewhat understood the concept of the questioning inner heart pill. It would not be difficult to find a dried-up land in Guhai. Ning Fan directly took out the treasure-searching compass and chanted an incantation while thinking about Guhai's dried-up land. Not long after that, 14 light spots appeared on the treasure-searching compass. All of them were the places where Guhai used to be in the Supreme Pill Sacred Region. Ning Fan took out the map of Dabei to compare. 6 of the light spots were located in the continents of the 7th grade ominous domain and above. To enter such a domain, one would need to use a special method to break the barrier of the 7th grade ominous domain. Ning Fan could not enter, and he did not plan to go there for the time being. The 8 light spots were distributed on the Dabei grassland outside the ominous domain. The largest light spot was located in the Gulong grassland. The Gulong grassland was a grassland where medicine soul stone coins were used. Gold and silver were rarely used. That was why Ning Fan did not go to this grassland when he stole the gold and silver from the Dabei grassland. Now it seemed like he had to make a trip to this Gulong grassland. Ning Fan summoned Ghostface and stepped on the dark immortal cloud. 2 hours later, he arrived at the border of a 3rd grade ominous domain and the Gulong grassland. When he arrived at this place, he did not continue to use the dark immortal cloud. Instead, he kept it and quietly entered the grassland. The movement of the dark immortal cloud was too loud. Ning Fan was worried that it would alert the cultivators in this place. The Guhai grassland was different from other grasslands. It was not the same grassland. Wherever there was a mountain, it would be filled with purple bamboos, forming a magnificent forest. Ning Fan followed the direction of the compass and arrived at the center of the Guhai grassland. A large tribe with herds of cattle and sheep and endless travelers was built at the center of the Guhai grassland. When Ning Fan arrived with the appearance of a ghost face and silver hair, the patrolling cultivators of this tribe were a little surprised. They were surprised by Ning Fan's silver hair and ghost face. After arriving at this place, Ning Fan did not wear the eye-catching outer cultivator clothes. Instead, he changed into the common nomadic clothes of the Debay grassland. Therefore, ordinary people would not associate him with an outer cultivator or a guardian of the sacred mountain, just by looking at his clothes. What these patrolling cultivators were concerned about was Ning Fan's behavior of hiding his face. He purposely wore a mask to cover his face, and had a head full of eye-catching silver hair. Could it be his silver hair was because he was young? Did he wear a mask because he felt that he was too ugly and was embarrassed to show his true face to others? These patrolling cultivators who did not have much intelligence instantly figured out the reason behind Ning Fan's silver hair and ghost face. There were even a few patrolling cultivators who directly addressed Ning Fan as Ugly Man when talking to him. Ugly Man? Is this your first time coming to my Sea Witch tribe? Are you here to buy the ancient fish fossils that are unique to my tribe? Do you need me to introduce you to a guide? Ning Fan, who was addressed as Ugly Man, was speechless. Brother Ugly, I'm a peddler who sells hair oil in the Sea Witch tribe. If you apply my hair oil, your white hair will turn black instantly. It costs 20 stone coins per bottle. Do you want to buy one? Ning Fan, who was sold hair dye and was addressed as Brother Ugly. Young Master Ugly. Brother Ugly. Brother Ugly. Your surname isn't Ugly? I saw everyone calling you that. I thought your surname was Ugly. You can't draw a clear line with the word ugly now, huh? Who said that those who wear masks are ugly? Ning Fan found it a little hard to understand this kind of logic. In fact, Ning Fan did not really care about his appearance. However, he was more or less speechless when a group of people from the Great Humble tribe who were lacking in intelligence secretly made him look ugly. He even regretted wearing the ghost mask and appearing in this place. However, he had no choice but to wear it. After all, the ghost mask was an innate item. It could help Ning Fan conceal his chi. Who knew if he would encounter another immortal emperor after appearing in this place? The third round of the mausoleum seizing battle seemed to be in full swing. Of course, the third round of the battle had nothing to do with Ning Fan anymore. The tomb of the sacred mountain that only opened once in 1,000 years had already been completely opened. Many great humble immortal venerables, immortal kings and immortal emperors who were cultivating painstakingly in the sacred mountain walked out of the tomb and came to the outside world. Occasionally, there would be the escaping light of an ancient cultivator whizzing across the sky. In the past, this kind of escaping light would only appear once every few months. However, after the tomb was opened, it could be seen more than 10 times in a day. Currently, the Great Humble tribe was in a special period when the tomb was opened. There were countless experts in the tribe. Thus, they had no choice but to be careful. Ning Fan did not expect that the Sea Witch tribe was located at the center of the Gulong grassland. Ning Fan was not unfamiliar with the Sea Witch tribe. After all, he had many interactions with the Witch of the Sea Witch tribe. It seemed like the Witch of the Sea Witch tribe still owed him a favor which she had yet to repay. If Brother Ning helps me get out of danger today, I will owe you a favor. In the future, when Brother Ning comes to my Sea Wizard tribe, it doesn't matter if you have taken a fancy to one of my treasures or if you want to ask for my help. I will not refuse Brother Ning's request. I can make a great heart demon oath to never violate this promise. Ning Fan recalled the scene when Wu Yan made a great heart devil oath that day. He never suffered a loss. Since Wu Yan owed him a reward, he would naturally use this reward when necessary. However, at this moment, Ning Fan had not thought of what he should ask Wu Yan for. It seemed like Wu Yan could not help him with what he wanted to do. That day, I was framed by the Thunder Sound lineage and did not get the reward of the second round. However, Wu Yan should have gotten it. I wonder if she gave all the spring water of the South Sea to 100 Flower Emperor, or kept some for her own use. If she did, I can ask her for some spring water. I don't want to fulfill my promise with 100 Flower Emperor. I just want to bring some back for Shadi and Wangu's master. 100 Flower Emperor. Recalling the scene when 100 Flower Emperor publicly broke the promise and attacked him, Ning Fan's eyes flashed with cold light. When the situation changed that day, 100 Flower Emperor immediately broke the promise and tried to kill him, her ally. She even tried to kidnap Nuan Er and Zhang Yu to threaten him. If it wasn't for 100 Flower Emperor, why would I go through the trouble to participate in the mausoleum seizing battle? In the end, Hundred Flower Emperor actually broke the promise and attacked him first. She even attacked Nuan Air and the other women. I must repay this debt sooner or later. After clearing his distracting thoughts, Ning Fan spent some medicine soul stones to rent a tent in the market of the Sea Witch tribe and stayed there. He did not have the mood to stroll around the market. Neither did he immediately go to the Witch of the Sea Witch tribe. Inside the tent, Ning Fan released his 9th Revolution silver-grade medicine soul and condensed it into a medicinal cauldron. Then he breathed out devil flames from his mouth and began to concoct the questioning heart pill. His medicine soul was unstable, and he lacked experience in concocting 9 revolution pills. All of these were disadvantageous factors that would greatly reduce the success rate of his pill concoction. However, Ning Fan did not care about it at all. The concoction of the 9 revolutions silver pill also required a large amount of time. The success rate of concocting with a slow flame was high, but a single cauldron could take up to 100 years. Most of the 9th Revolution pill refinement masters would ask their apprentices to look after the fire in their cauldron and concoct pills with a slow flame. The martial fire was a fierce fire. It had a low success rate, but it could form pills quickly. The grade of Ning Fan's devil flame was high. Under the full power of the flame, it would not take him too long to concoct the questioning inner heart pill. Of course, the success rate would be extremely low if he used the full power of the flame. Fortunately, Ning Fan had a lot of money. He directly bought more than 1,000 sets of herbs for the questioning inner heart Dan. He was not afraid of failure, nor was he worried about the success rate. He just wanted to refine the questioning inner heart pill as fast as possible and directly cross the tribulation of Renhuang hollow space. Increase his strength a little more. The first furnace failed, the second batch failed, the third batch failed. On the first day, Ning Fan had failed a total of 42 cauldrons of medicinal ingredients. The tent that he was staying in was constantly filled with the sound of explosions caused by failed pill concoction. It made some of the guests who lived in the neighboring tents to have a better understanding of this ugly man. Not only was he ugly, but his pill concoction technique was also very trashy. Otherwise, how could he fail 44 cauldrons of medicinal ingredients in a day? Everyone in the Great Desolate Empire was a pill refinement master. However, even the worst pill refinement master would not always fail. On the second day, Ning Fan failed 53 cauldrons of medicinal ingredients. The continuous sounds of pill cauldrons exploding for 2 days made Ning Fan's reputation of having a trashy pill concoction technique become a joke among the guests. On the third day, Ning Fan still failed continuously. On the fourth day, the fifth day, and the sixth day. After 6 consecutive days of pill concoction, Ning Fan's medicine soul, which was originally weak, became a little more solid. He had also summarized a lot of his experiences in concocting 9 revolution pills. He had also gained a lot of experience in concocting the questioning inner heart pill. However, he still failed. It was not the problem of his technique. No matter how bad his technique was, it should not be to the extent of failing hundreds of times without succeeding. On the 7th day, Ning Fan did not continue to concoct the pill. He faintly felt that if he could not find the key to concoct the questioning inner heart pill, he would still fail even if he concocted the pill for thousands of times. This was no longer a problem that could be solved by burning money. He decided to think about the key to concocting the questioning inner heart pill. Still, he did not go out and wander around blindly. Instead, he stayed in his tent and meditated. On the 8th day, Ning Fan did not go out at all. On the 9th day, on the 10th day, on the 11th day, a small hand suddenly opened Ning Fan's tent. "BB Big Brother, are you buying stonefish fossils?" A timid voice stood outside the tent. She was carrying a small bamboo basket and asked. Ning Fan immediately stopped his meditation and opened his eyes. His expression was a little cold. He should have told the owner of the tent to not let anyone disturb his cultivation. However, this little girl who was selling fossils had actually come to his tent without permission. Fortunately, Ning Fan was only meditating in the past few days and did not concoct pills. If he was disturbed by such a little girl at the critical moment of concocting a 9 revolution pill, it would be considered a light punishment if the pill cauldron exploded. It was very likely to cause Ning Fan a backlash. In that case, it was impossible for Ning Fan to be kind to the person who trespassed into his tent. Furthermore, he should have set up some concealment formations near the tent. Although he did not dare to set up a formation of a high level, because this was the territory of the Sea Shaman tribe, it would attract attention. However, the formations that Ning Fan casually set up were also extraordinary. Cultivators below the true immortal realm would not be able to enter his tent at all. Could it be that this little girl who looks like a little carrot actually has a true immortal realm cultivation base? No, that's not right. This little girl's cultivation base is just at the first step of cultivation, but the pendant on her neck is not simple. It seems that a certain immortal venerables from the ancient times made a protective magic tool for this little girl. The power of this magic tool is not too great, but it is enough to ignore a true immortal realm formation. I don't want to buy your stonefish fossils. You can leave. Ning Fan's tone was originally very indifferent. However, when he noticed the little girl's tattered clothes, his brows loosened and his tone softened. She was probably a child from a poor family who was forced to break into his tent to sell some fossils to him. He was an old monster with a bone age of 60,000 years. There was no need for him to be so calculative with a little girl who was only 11 or 12 years old. Brother Cho, just buy one. Just one. Other people's stonefish fossils are sold for a few stone coins each. Mine is only selling for 1 stone coin. The little girl was so frightened by Ning Fan's cold aura that she was about to cry. However, she still held back her tears and gritted her teeth, desperately trying to sell the fossils to Ning Fan. I don't need this thing. Ning Fan, who was called Brother Cho, twitched his mouth under the mask. Brother Cho, just buy one. Just one, all right? I don't. Brother Cho. Brother Cho, I beg you. You are a good person. Ning Fan, who had been inexplicably labeled as a good person, felt a slight headache. As a matter of fact, he could easily get rid of this annoying little girl with his cultivation base. However, ever since he started cultivating the Tao, he would never act recklessly against such people who had no karma with him. He sighed softly and finally compromised. All right. I will buy a stonefish fossil. However, I don't have any stone coins. I only have medicine soul stones. Do you accept medicine soul stones or not? The value of a medicine soul stone was roughly equivalent to 1 stone coin. Of course, considering the processing fee, the value of the medicine soul stone was slightly lower than the stone coin. If the medicine soul stone is used to exchange for the stone coin, the little girl would earn less money. Yes, of course. It was not easy for the little girl to successfully sell the fossils. Thus, she was too lazy to care about the difference in value between the medicine soul stone and the stone coin. She nodded her head continuously, afraid that Ning Fan would go back on his words and not buy her fossils. The way she looked at Ning Fan was no longer as fearful as before. In the end, the transaction was successful. Ning Fan lost 1 medicine soul stone and obtained a stonefish fossil. Then you have sold the fossils. You can leave now. Ning Fan took a sip of the horse milk tea on the table and thanked the customer. However, the little girl was still in high spirits. Thank you, Big Brother. Big Brother is my first customer this month. The others don't dare to buy my fossils. Big Brother, you are really a good person. My name is Wu Na. What's Big Brother's name? Ning Fan's teacup froze and he frowned. No one dares to buy the fossils of this little girl? Yet he bought it. Did he get himself involved in some strange incident again? Wu Na thought that Ning Fan's silence was because he was unwilling to tell her his name. She bit her lips and politely bid farewell to Ning Fan before leaving. Before Wu Na left, Ning Fan secretly used the mind-reading technique. Immediately, he saw the thoughts that she had before she left from the depths of her mind. My elder sister was implicated by that person, and is now locked up. The warden said that I have to pay 100 stone coins to visit her. Wu Na earned 1 stone coin today. Wu Na has saved 26 stone coins in the past. I still need 77 stone coins. Nobody dares to buy my things. They are afraid that they will be implicated by me. Brother Cho is really a good person. Unfortunately, I don't know his name. Brother Cho is a good person. But why didn't he tell me his name? How ugly is Brother Cho exactly? I heard that his pill refinement skills are very poor. How pitiful. There are actually pill refinement masters who are even worse than me. This little girl's thoughts are too simplistic. The mind-reading technique was a technique that allowed one to look into their mind instead of searching their memories. Thus, Ning Fan could only read these things from the depths of this little girl's mind. Other than finding out that this little girl seemed to have some kind of trouble on her body, he was given the good guy card over and over again. The power of rumors was frightening. In the market of the Sea Shaman tribe, it seemed like rumors about his ugly face and poor pill refinement skills had already spread everywhere. Forget it. Even if this little girl has some trouble on her body, could it be bigger than the trouble he had caused today? He was the one who was being hunted down by the entire Great Bay Nation. Even if this little girl has some troubles in the Sea Shaman tribe, it shouldn't be too serious, right? I'm just buying a stone fish fossil of hers. What kind of trouble can I attract? Ning Fan shook his head. Just as he was about to put the stone fish fossil aside and continue meditating, all of a sudden, his hand stopped in midair. He stared at the stone fish fossil in his hand with great concentration. Somehow, when he carefully observed the stone fish fossil, he seemed to have found something that he lacked for concocting the questioning inner heart pill. The stone fish fossil seemed to contain some kind of Tao charm. That kind of Tao rhyme is called change. Chapter 1063. Countless years ago, when the ancient sea grassland was not inhabited by the people of Dabii, it was not a grassland but a vast ocean. The fish fossil in Ning Fan's hand was an ancient fish that lived in that ancient ocean when it was alive. There was no concept of time in the cultivation world. Fossils were not uncommon in the cultivation world, but there were very few people who would actually sell fossils. One had to admit that the people of Dabii were different. They obviously had cultivation bases, but they did many businesses that only mortals could do and lived the lives of mortals. The gold and silver that the people of Dabii loved contained the extremely precious heavenly Tao gold and silver. Most of them probably did not know about this. The ancient fish fossil sold by the Sea Shaman tribe also contained some kind of extremely special Tao sense which made it different from ordinary fossils. Most of the cultivators of the Sea Shaman tribe probably did not know about this. The reason why Ning Fan bought Wu Na's fish fossil was originally because he had no other choice. However, at this moment he felt a little lucky that he bought the fossil instead of chasing her away. This small fossil seemed to contain the key to concoct the questioning heart pill. The sea turns into mulberry fields. Ancient fish fossil. Ning Fan's eyes were sometimes clear and sometimes blank. Sometimes, he would smile and sometimes he would frown. He seemed to have understood it but at the same time he did not. After studying the fossil for a long time, he finally had a guess. The reason why the questioning heart pill needs to be concocted in the dried-up land of Guhai is it related to these fish fossils that were left behind in the dried-up land of Guhai. Ning Fan remained silent for a while. Then he suddenly transformed his medicine soul into a cauldron and started concocting pills in the tent again. The flame in the pill cauldron burned fiercely. The medicinal ingredients that were thrown into the cauldron were refined into the purest medicinal paste. Under the control of Ning Fan's powerful spirit sense, hundreds of medicinal paste were fused into one. Gradually, the medicinal paste in the cauldron merged into one. Under Ning Fan's constant changes in the temperature of the fire, the medicinal paste turned into steam, and the steam turned into medicinal paste again. This process repeated for an unknown period of time. Suddenly, the medicinal paste began to solidify. Ning Fan's hand technique kept changing. After failing hundreds of times, he became quite skilled in concocting the questioning heart pill. The medicinal paste in the cauldron had already begun to solidify. This was the most difficult step. Most of Ning Fan's previous failures were due to this step. This time, when the questioning inner heart pill was condensed, there were also signs of failure. Ning Fan frowned. Then he performed a strange pill hand seal with his 10 fingers. The signs of failure immediately subsided a little. However, after that, the medicinal power of the medicinal liquid became chaotic again, and it could not be condensed. Ning Fan tried to integrate his experiences and insights from the two samsara tribulations of the samsara body into the pills, but he failed to do so as well. Sizzle! The cauldron began to emit a charred smell. A small amount of the medicinal liquid had already been burnt to ashes by the Dan fire. Ning Fan remained silent for a while. All of a sudden, he took out the ancient fish fossil and rubbed it with both of his hands, crushing it into powder. Then he scattered it into the pill cauldron. In a split second, an extremely strange scene appeared in the pill cauldron. Amidst the originally hissing flames, there was actually the sound of ancient waves. There was also the shadow of an ancient fish swimming in the flames inside the cauldron, following the patterns of the flames all the way to the medicinal liquid. The moment the fish swam in, the liquid that couldn't be solidified before was slightly solidified. However, even more of the medicinal paste was burnt to a crisp. Ning Fan's hand seals kept changing. He controlled the flames and condensed the pills. Finally, he managed to concoct a burnt questioning inner heart pill. Such a burnt pill would not only lose more than half of its medicinal power, but there might also be huge side effects after consuming it. In a sense, even though Ning Fan succeeded in condensing the pill this time, the questioning inner heart pill that he concocted was still a failure. Looking at this failed pill, Ning Fan revealed a smile. It seems like my senses weren't wrong. After adding the ancient fish fossil into the cauldron, the pill was successfully condensed. So the key to concocting the questioning inner heart pill is this kind of fish fossil. The reason why the pill is burnt seems to be because the number of fish fossils is not enough. If there are more of these fossils, I should be able to concoct a perfect questioning inner heart pill. Ning Fan casually kept the failed product of the questioning inner heart pill, opened the door of the tent and walked out. This was the first time he walked out of his tent after coming to the Sea Shaman tribe. Not far away from the tent was the market of the Sea Shaman tribe. There were quite a number of people selling ancient fish fossils there. Ning Fan easily bought a large number of fish fossils. Then he returned to the tent and started concocting the pill again. Just like before, he continued all the way to the last step of condensing the pill. Then, Ning Fan added the newly bought fish fossils into the pill cauldron. This time, however, he did not even get a burnt pill. Instead, the medicinal liquid was directly turned into waste. The result was actually not as good as the previous time. No. These fossils that I just bought seem to be different from the fossils that the little girl sold to me. Ning Fan frowned and walked out of the tent again. He stopped in front of each of the fossil stalls in the market to check them. He just looked at them, but he did not buy any more. Compared to the fossils that Wu Na sold, the ancient fish fossils sold by ordinary people seem to be lacking something. The fossils that you sold seem to be different from the fossils that the little girl named Wu Na sold. After observing for a long time, Ning Fan finally asked one of the stall owners, "Wu Na? You're talking about the younger sister of the former witch, right? Her fish fossils indeed seem to be different from ours. After all, our fossils were dug out from under the grassland, while hers were picked up from the forbidden area of my tribe. They are fossils that have been nourished by Lord Sea Devil's magic power." Lord Sea Devil? Forbidden area? Since it's a forbidden area, it shouldn't be a place that an outsider like me can easily invade, right? He still needed a lot of those special fossils in order to concoct the perfect questioning inner heart pill. Invading the forbidden area of the Sea Shaman tribe to search for the special fossils was just a bad idea. He still had a simpler way, which was to find that little girl Wu Na and directly buy some fossils from her. Brother Cho, I'm reminding you out of kindness. Never buy Wu Na's fossils and don't have any relationship with her. The stall owner suddenly reminded him mysteriously. Why, Zai, didn't I tell you just now? That Wu Na is the younger sister of the former witch of my tribe, Wu Yen. The former witch committed a grave crime by colluding with an external cultivator, who destroyed the punishment ring. Now she has already been stripped of her position as a witch and her bones have been shattered. She is now locked in the water prison of the forbidden area of the Sea Valley of my tribe. However, I've also heard of a rumor that the former witch's crime of colluding with an external cultivator is just a pretense. The real reason why she was punished severely was because she was extremely bold and disobeyed the 100 Flowers Peak's Lord Immortal Emperor. Many of the elders of my tribe have received the 100 Flowers Emperor's favor. Naturally, they won't let the former witch off easily. Ning Fan frowned. That little girl Wu Na is actually Wu Yan's younger sister? As for Wu Yan, her position as a witch was actually stripped, and she was even imprisoned with her bones shattered? Does that mean I'm the one who implicated Wu Yan? That little girl Wu Na went around selling stones to earn enough money to give gifts to the prison warden who imprisoned Wu Yan? Seeing that Ning Fan did not seem to care about Wu Na's identity, he could not help but remind him a few more times. He was afraid that Ning Fan would run over to Wu Na and get himself into trouble. Just as they were talking, the market suddenly became noisy. In the midst of the bustling crowd, the cries of a little girl could be heard. Let go of Wu Na. You are not allowed to throw Wu Na's stones on the ground. You are not allowed to throw Wu Na's stone coins on the ground. Damn it. This belongs to Wu Na. Hurry up and return it to her. Why did you tear Wu Na's clothes? Help me. And no. Under the gazes of a large group of passers-by, a group of soldiers wearing leather armor with oil paint on their faces were wantonly bullying and humiliating a little girl. These soldiers were the shaman guards of the Sea Shaman tribe. They directly answered to the group of elders of the tribe, and had the privilege to kill any member of the tribe who violated the law on the spot. In the Sea Shaman tribe, the shaman guards had always been arrogant and domineering. Other than a few people who they did not dare to offend, there was almost no one whom they could not afford to offend. If it was Wu Na in the past, as the younger sister of the witch of the Sea Shaman tribe, she would probably be someone whom they would not dare to offend. However, now that the former witch had been crippled, Wu Na had lost her backing. She was just a silly little girl that everyone wanted to beat up. The leader of this group of shaman guards was a fat cultivator with a ferocious-looking face. He directly ordered his subordinates to tie Wu Na to a wooden pole. Then he took a wet leather whip and whipped Wu Na's body repeatedly. Every lash of his whip was exquisitely controlled by him. He did not harm Wu Na's body, only shredding her clothes and leaving red marks on her pure white skin. After just 10 to 20 lashes, Wu Na's sleeves were already torn, revealing her slender arms that were covered with red marks. After another 10 to 20 lashes, Wu Na's leather pants below her thighs were also torn, revealing her smooth calves. Wu Na looked at the fat cultivator in fear and wailed. Her fear and her cries were exceptionally pleasant to the ears of the fat cultivator. If Wu Yan was the most beautiful woman in the Sea Shaman tribe, then the second most beautiful woman would be Wu Yan's younger sister, Wu Na. Of course, this little girl was only 13 years old. Her body was not fully developed yet. However, it did not matter. The fat cultivator was more interested in her young age. He even had the desire to ravage this girl. Like a cat playing with a mouse, he whipped Wu Na's sleeves and trousers. After that, where should he tear her clothes? Should he whip her chest or her thighs? Or should he use force? The fat cultivator licked his lips and slowly approached Wu Na. More and more members of the Sea Shaman tribe gathered nearby. They were all angry but did not dare to say anything. Occasionally, there would be a few indignant members of the Sea Shaman tribe who wanted to save Wu Na, who was about to be ravaged in public. However, they were immediately surrounded and beaten by the Shaman Guard sect. They were either killed or severely injured. Soon fresh blood flowed on the ground. Wu Na was in despair. The fat cultivator in front of her was none other than one of the jailers who was guarding her sister. Previously, when Wu Na went to look for this person, he had clearly agreed to help her visit her sister in private. Why? Why did he do such a horrible thing to her now? Uncle Wu Lu, didn't you say that as long as Wu Na gave you a satisfactory reward, you would allow her to visit my sister? Wu Na is working very hard to save up money. Once she has accumulated 100 stone coins, she will give them to you. Can you let Wu Na go? Wu Na begged. 100 stone coins? You can have as many of those things as you want in this grassland. I don't need them. The reward I hinted to you is yourself. However, you don't seem to understand. Do you know how tempting your body is? I have waited for so many days, but you still haven't thrown yourself into my arms. That's why I didn't wait and came to look for you today. Don't count on anyone to save you. Those heroes who wanted to save you are already lying on the ground. The fat cultivator chuckled evilly. His calloused hands reached out to touch Wu Na's tear-stained face. Behind him, a few men who had acted righteously were being beaten up by the shaman guards and were screaming in pain. However, just as the fat cultivator's dirty hands were about to touch Wu Na, the fat cultivator's head suddenly flew high into the air without any warning. Then his neck was severed. Blood spurted out like arrows and his corpse fell to the ground. The fat cultivator's primordial spirit flew out of his corpse in anger and horror. He no longer had the desire to bully Wu Na. Instead, he quickly looked behind him. Everyone's eyes were locked on Ning Fan. More than 40 shaman guards immediately surrounded Ning Fan and shouted at him, as if they were facing a formidable enemy. "Who are you? Why did you attack my shaman guards?" All of the 40-plus shaman guards were at the Life Immortal realm and Crossing True realm. Commander Wu Lu, in particular, was a Shikong Void cultivator. However, Wu Lu, who had a Shikong Void cultivator cultivation base, had his physical body destroyed by Ning Fan. No one could clearly see how Ning Fan did it. This could only mean one thing. Ning Fan's strength was terrifyingly strong. The speed of his attack had already exceeded their eyesight. "I'm not interested in the trivial matters of your sea shaman tribe. However, I have some karma with this little girl. I can't just watch her get humiliated by you guys." There were blades and swords all around him, but Ning Fan completely ignored them. With a flash of his body, he appeared in front of Wu Na, who was tied up. At the same time, the necks of the 40-plus shaman guards were cut off. Just as their heads flew into the air, fresh blood spurted out. One after another, their primordial spirits flew out of their corpses in a panic. However, just as they flew out, Ning Fan sucked them in with a big mouth and swallowed them whole. Even Wu Lu's primordial spirit was devoured by Ning Fan. With a swipe of his palm, the ropes that bound Wu Na's body were broken. Out of panic, Wu Na's body fell forward uncontrollably. However, Ning Fan easily caught her. When their palms touched, Wu Na's small face immediately turned as red as a persimmon. Hot steam rose from her body as she stammered. "BBB big brother, thank you. Thank you for saving me." "No, but you've gotten yourself into big trouble. Hurry up and run." The members of the Sea Shaman tribe who were nearby also urged Ning Fan to run. "Brother Cho, thank you for saving Lord Witch's younger sister. However, you'd better run now. You've killed so many shaman guards. The group of elders will be here soon. Hurry up and run, Brother Cho. I have a spiritual beast carriage that can travel 10,000 li in my house. I'll send you to escape. I have 2 ancient shaman divine traveling talismans here. They'll send you to escape." "I have." None of them blamed Ning Fan for killing them. Instead, all of them helped him to escape. Ning Fan was slightly surprised. Then he shook his head with a smile. These people probably thought that he was a despicable person who acted bravely for a just cause. That was why they said that. If these people knew that he was an external cultivator who destroyed the punishment ring, it would be hard to say if they would still care about him. Ignoring their persuasion to escape, Ning Fan stretched out his 5 fingers and collected all the fish fossils that were scattered on the ground. These fish fossils were scattered on the ground when Wu Na was caught. They were special fossils which were beneficial to concoct the questioning inner heart pill. "These stones belong to me now. Take them as my reward for saving you. Do you have any objections?" Ning Fan asked indifferently. No. But big brother, you should run quickly." Wu Na said anxiously when she saw Ning Fan, who was collecting the fish fossils at a moderate pace. "Why should I run?" Because the group of elders is very scary." Wu Na was so anxious that she almost cried. "How can this big brother be so calm? You have killed a shaman guard. The group of elders will not let you go. As far as I know, there are only 1 immortal king and 3 immortal venerables in the group of elders. There's nothing to be afraid of." While they were talking, hundreds of rays of light with powerful chi had already flown to the sky above the market from afar. One of the immortal venerables among them displayed his ability and directly sealed the heaven and earth of this place. Then he looked down at Ning Fan with a cold expression. "What kind of scoundrel are you? How dare you kill a shaman guard of my sea shaman tribe? Are you tired of living? I'll give you 3 breaths to consider. Do you want to commit suicide or be killed by me? He's just a newly advanced immortal venerable. His reputation doesn't seem to be very good. As soon as Ning Fan used his mind-reading technique, he saw the hatred towards this immortal venerable from the hearts of many women around him. He was the 4th elder of the group of elders, Venerable Water Shaman. He had done a lot of bullying in the Sea Shaman tribe. He seemed to be a vassal of the 100-Flower Emperor. That was why he had supreme privileges in the tribe. No one dared to offend him. Unfortunately, his identity as a vassal of the 100-Flower Emperor was not enough to scare Ning Fan. This identity might even become the cause of his death. Ning Fan was not a person who liked to meddle in other people's business. However, if what happened to Wu Yan and Wu Na of the Sea Shaman tribe was related to him in some sense, he could not just sit back and watch. Red light flashed around Ning Fan's body, and he instantly disappeared from his original spot. At the next moment, the ceiling formation of heaven and earth continuously let out rumbling sounds of collapse. The hundreds of figures of the shaman guards in the sky were directly blasted into blood mist by someone's unparalleled fist force at the same time. The sky was filled with the shadows of ancient devils collapsing mountains. Venerable Water Shaman let out a miserable shriek. Before she could react, her body was penetrated by a beam of demonic red light. With a bang, her corpse exploded into blood mist. Then the red light condensed and revealed Ning Fan's original appearance. He was holding the primordial spirit of Venerable Water Shaman in his hand. Without giving Venerable Water Shaman a chance to beg for mercy, he directly opened his mouth and swallowed her primordial spirit whole. 4th brother. On the other side of the sky, the auras of the other 3 immortal venerables and immortal kings who were rushing towards them roared furiously. That you're tuning in to the Limei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.